Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is an emotionless ANBU family alive. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by RedphoenixXIII, link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. The Beginning. Konoha, the hidden village of leaves. October 10th. Devastation and chaos was evident in the hidden village of leaves in Fire Country when a massive roar can be heard around the village. Ninjas of all ranks looked up and saw a huge monstrosity of a nine-tailed fox, Kyuubi no Yoko Kitsune. He was on a rampage, destroying all the surrounding forests and mountains with a casual flick of his 9 red tails. These tails could cause tsunamis and earthquakes. Numerous ninjas started firing different elemental-based jutsus at the demon, but to no avail. It was still coming close to the village when one of the ninjas shouted, "We have to hold up until the Yondaime Hokage arrives." The others replied, "Hi. Hokage Tower, same time." Namikaze Minato was checking over a seal array design that he had just completed and was scanning through it to check for any mistakes. When, suddenly his last surviving student, Hada Kakashi, came bursting through the door and said, "Minato-sensei, Kushina-sama is currently giving birth to your baby at the hospital. You need to go." A short silver-haired ninja dressed in the regular Jonin uniform stood near the Hokage's desk. He heard a sudden intake of breath from Minato. He stood up from his chair and looked at Kakashi for a moment and then with a yellow flash, he left for the hospital to see Kushina. Leaving Kakashi in the office and he then left with a leaf Shushin to get back to the battlefields. He was a new Jounin. Hospital. In the maternity ward, Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina was currently giving birth to her and Minato's baby that they have been expecting for the last 9 months. They have been looking forward to this day for months. Then suddenly a yellow flash was seen outside the hospital and Minato ran past the receptionist at the front desk. He ran to the maternity ward to see Kushina and their newborn baby. Battlefield outside Konoha, half-hour later. It was a somber day when the mighty Yondaime Hokage of the hidden village of leaves has died from defeating the giant monstrosity Kyuubi no Kitsune. A blonde baby boy, wrapped in the white with red flames cloak around him, was crying beside the dead Yondaime Hokage. His arms was holding him protectively before an ANBU with a Nico mask picked up the baby and then indicated to the rest of his squad to recover the Yondaime Hokage's body from the battleground and be taken to the hospital for preparation for burial. The former Sandaime Hokage was on the battlefield with the other ninjas fighting the Kyuubi. After the sealing of the Kyuubi, the surviving ninjas gather all the dead corpses from the battlefield and return to the village and started rebuilding of the village. Hokage Tower. The Sandaime Hokage was reinstated that same night. He was brought out of retirement as the Yondaime Hokage had not named a new successor. He was handed the blonde baby that the Yondaime Hokage used from the Nico mask ANBU in the Hokage office. He was reading the scroll that was addressed to him from Minato. The Sarutobi Hiruzen. "I am very sorry my old friend to bring you out of retirement. But as the reigning Hokage, I have to do what I am going to. I am going to use the Shiki Fuijin overseal to seal the Kyuubi into a live vessel. But I couldn't use anyone's child if I didn't use my own. Yes. The blonde child that I will be using is in fact my and Kushina's son, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. He will now be the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Please my old friend, please look after Naruto for me. However, do not tell him of his heritage until he is 18 years old or he is ready to know about us. Jiraiya and Tsunade are his godparents as chosen by myself and Kushina. My will and techniques are located with them. When the time comes, please ask them to teach him his inheritance. Also when the time comes, please tell him that I am very proud of him and that we loved him very much and hope he has a wonderful life. Goodbye my old friend." From Namikaze Minato. The Yondaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sado. He sighed about the situation and quickly hid the scroll in a seal under his desk when a Chunin knocked on the door to inform him that the council elders has come to speak to him and they found out that the baby is still alive. Danzo, the old warhawk, has always been looking for an opportunity to enhance Konoha's defenses. The 2 former teammates of the Sandaime Hokage were also there, Kaharu and Homura were standing next to Danzo. They demanded to know the situation. "Sarutobi-sama, what is happening out there? Who is that baby?" asked Kaharu after spotting the baby in his arms. The Sandaime Hokage stiffened and knew he had to reveal the situation to the 3 elders. "This is Naruto, the baby boy that the Yondaime Hokage sealed the Kyuubi in tonight. He is going to have an unhappy childhood," thought the Sandaime Hokage. Their discussions went on for a few hours when a summons for a full council meeting was called. The 3 elders and the Sandaime Hokage stiffened and they knew that the council would want Naruto's quick execution as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. So in agreement, the 4 elders decide to announce that Naruto has died from too much chakra for his young body. They decided to train him aside from the normal ninja program. They knew that he will be ostracized from the general populace if they known, so they decided to train him as an ANBU. Council meeting room. A full council meeting was in session, where all the major shinobi clans and the civilians were gathered around demanding to know the situation. They were informed that all the members of the Namikaze's family has died that night after the Yondaime died sealing the Kyuubi into his infant son. His wife, Kushina, has died in childbirth and that Naruto died from chakra overload. The news has shocked Senju Tsunade, the last of the Senju, and her former teammate Jiraiya, the former sensei to the Yondaime Hokage. They were on the battlefield, helping others when they heard the news that the Yondaime Hokage has died from the sealing ritual. "No, that cannot be true," said Tsunade, the slug Sannin. Grieving over the news of the deaths of Minato, Kushina and Naruto on October 10, Jiraiya, the toad Sannin, and Tsunade, the slug Sannin with her apprentice, Shizune, left Konoha the day after that fateful day and has never returned for many years to come. The Sandaime Hokage looked out of the window wistfully. He felt something ominous with the decision that he reluctantly made. Chapter 2. Enter the Fox. Konoha, 12 years later. It was around that time of the year when the latest bunch of academy students was about to graduate. The village has become very peaceful since the Sandaime took up the reins again as the Hokage. Everyone was outside enjoying the sunny day, and you can find children playing on the streets and the shops selling their merchandises. Currently, we are in the Hokage office, where all the Jounins are gathered together in discussions of who is training who. Amongst the Jounins were Hada Kakashi, Yuhi Kurenai and Sarutobi Asuma. They were standing near the wall when a flare of chakra alerted them of an incoming ANBU member. He suddenly appeared in front of the Sandaime Hokage and knelt down in respect. "Hokage-sama, reporting. The mission has been completed. Here is my completed report," the ANBU ninja reported. Then he stood up and the gathered Jounins suddenly realized he was short for an ANBU. He stood up straight and awaiting new orders. "Thank you, Kitsune. You are dismissed. Please report back to base," said the Sandaime Hokage. He placed the scroll aside and looked at the gathered Jounins and found them discussing the just departed ANBU. It seems the Kitsune was a well-known S-rank ninja in enemies' bingo books and in the village, but no one know who he is as his identity has been hidden since he was a small child. Some of the Jounins, who had been ANBU, had worked with him but does not know who he is as he never socializes with anyone. He rarely spoke to other unless on missions. He would often listen to orders and then lead his own squad to fulfill the missions. Then he returns to the village and report back to the Hokage. Many people are in AWOL of the infamous ANBU and his escapades, and they tried to find out who he was, but many have failed. Only the Hokage and certain council members knew of his identity. "Back to business, who is taking who on what team," said the Sandaime Hokage, puffing on his pipe and exhaling a smoke ring into the room. Then looking around the room and then some Jounin stepped out and asked to be sensei. Kakashi, Kurenai and Asuma also stepped forward and they made their requests. Kakashi said, "I will take Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura and Sai as my team." Then, Kurenai said Hyuga Hinata, Inyazuka Kiba and Aburam Shino as my team. And finally Asuma said the new generation of Ino Shikacho is my team. While the rest of the Jounins made their requests, the Hokage was contemplating something when he nodded to their requests and then the gathered Jounins left the room. Sarutobi Hiruzen then stood up and looked outside the window and glanced at the monument. He looked at the Yondaime's monument and let out a sigh. He thought back to what he agreed to 8 years ago. Flashback. The small blonde child was given to Danzo to train and now that boy is working as ANBU under the command of the Hokage. The boy is very efficient as a ninja but is a social outcast in the eyes of the other people. Flashback ends. Sarutobi let another sigh and looked out to the village when a knock on the door came and he turned around and said, "Come in." A few counselors came in and Sarutobi looked at them. Then they sat down and went on with their discussion about new orders for Kitsune. ANBU headquarters. Kitsune appeared with a minute flare of chakra outside ANBU headquarters. He turned to the entrance when a squad came out and saw Kitsune. They bowed to him as he was their superior. He nodded and went inside and the other squad left the building. Kitsune went into his office to finish his neglected paperwork. He rarely sleeps and is found finishing his work and is often training in the ANBU training grounds when he is not out completing missions. This has been his life for the last 8 years. The Hokage was the only one kind to him when he was a child. He has been ANBU for a few years now. He has completed many missions that usually killed numerous ninjas and they don't return to the village. Feeling the rumble of hunger, he got up and went to the cafeteria and bought some food to eat in his office. Other ANBU saw him and bowed in respect and he nodded at them and left. Taking off his Kitsune mask, a full head of blonde head of hair and the most beautiful azure blue eyes could be seen. However, there were no emotions in those eyes. They were the cold ice chips devoid of any emotion fitting for a professional assassin. Emotions that should not belong to a 12-year-old boy who happens to be an ANBU captain. He started to eat his lunch while finishing his paperwork and he carried on until a messenger bird was heard outside. He replaced his mask and looked outside the window and the messenger bird swooped down with a summons from the Hokage. He picked up his stuff and made sure that he had everything and with a poof disappeared to the Hokage tower. Arriving at the tower, Kitsune flared his chakra and was allowed to enter the office and there he saw the Hokage and an unfamiliar Chunin with a scar across his nose. They were discussing something about the academy and the students. "You summoned me, Hokage-sama?" asked Kitsune in a monosyllabic tone. "Ah yes, Kitsune, I need you and your squad to complete the mission on this scroll and it should take some time to complete. Are you clear?" said the Hokage. "Yes, my lord. It will be done," said Kitsune and with a poof departed from the office. "Iruka, what was we discussing before the interruption?" said the Hokage. "Hokage-sama, was that the infamous Kitsune-sama just now?" inquired Iruka. He had surprise on his face when the ANBU stood up and he wasn't really tall. The Hokage nodded his head at Iruka while smoking his pipe. "My lord, he is a bit on the small side to be the infamous Kitsune-sama," asked Iruka. His brain was putting pieces together and as a teacher, he recognizes the physique of a child. No adults can be that small and he believes that the infamous Kitsune is a child but doesn't know who it is as he has never taught him at the academy. The Hokage dwelled on this piece of information and found Iruka looking at him. He let out a sigh and puffed on his pipe and then he glanced up the photo of the fourth Hokage and then let out another sigh. He pondered a while longer and then he remembered what he promised Minato 12 years ago. Flashback. "Sandaime-sama, please look after him and make sure that he is treated as a hero and tell him that I am very proud of him," said a dying Minato. He wrapped his little finger in the baby's little hand. The baby started to cry. "Of course, Minato, I promise you to look after him," said the Sandaime. He watched Minato take his last breath. The reinstated Hokage watched the Nico mask ANBU picked up the baby and they went back to the village. Flashback ends. The Sandaime was fighting with his conscience at this moment. He wanted to integrate Kitsune back into the village with friends of his own age, but he was also protecting him from the politics of the village council. The council consists of shinobis and civilians. They were the one who held Kitsune's future in their hands. He could be executed for what he carrying inside on him and he can't do anything about it. In other words, he is Konoha's weapon, but the majority of the council does not know who he is. Congratulations, Iruka. You are the first person to work out that Kitsune is a child. But this is a SS rank secret. You must not tell anyone about this. Let them work it out themselves. Yes, Hokage-sama, said Iruka, and they returned to what they were doing. Konoha, 1 month later. Arriving at the main gate of Konoha, ANBU Team Kitsune arrived back from their 1-month mission in the Land of Lightning. They were tired and they were heading to the Hokage Tower when they encountered Team 7 and 10 coming in from doing D-rank missions. They were led by Sarutobi Asuma and Hada Kakashi, who was reading an orange-covered book when they saw the disheveled ANBU members. They were covered in dried blood and were extremely tired. They weren't as agile before the mission. However, when Kitsune noticed the others, he raised his right arm and then they stopped and a few minutes of silent communication, 3 of his squad members poof away and they're left Kitsune with the 2 teams who hasn't said anything yet. With another poof, Kitsune departed from his spot. Will the 2 girls on both teams ask their sensei? Who was that, Asuma Kakashi sensei? Asked Ino and Sakura. The boys stayed silent and waited for their answers. Both Jounins looked at each other and then nodded. That was Kitsune, one of our strongest ANBU, said Asuma with a nearly finished cigarette in his mouth. The new Genin started talking amongst themselves. However, it was the girls doing all the talking while Sasuke and Shikamaru was pondering what they saw in those few moments and started thinking to themselves. Come on, let's report back to the Hokage, said Kakashi, still reading his book as he walked to the Hokage Tower. Hokage Tower. Kitsune was completing his report for the 1-month mission to the Hokage when he encountered Team 7 and 10 again. They were waiting to see the Hokage. After completing his report, Kitsune walked past them and then with a poof left the tower. He needs to go back to headquarters to rest up and finish his paperwork. Meanwhile, Team 10 went through their report and collected their pay and left with a new mission. This left Team 7 in the office with the Hokage and his assistants. Mission Takahashi completed, said Kakashi, with his genin standing behind him and they were awaiting a new mission. Sakura was fidgeting while Sai and Sasuke were standing there. Let's see, how about babysitting the Shinji twins, painting the bathhouses, plowing the… Not again. Isn't there any better mission that we could do? Sighed Sakura. Sasuke was thinking of the same thing, but he is too antisocial to voice it aloud. Sai nodded in agreement. Chapter 3. Meeting Hinata. ANBU headquarters. Arriving at headquarters, Kitsune went into his office to complete the rest of the paperwork after completing another mission and feeling bored. He decides to brush up on some techniques by doing some extra training. He went to a deserted training field away from the village. Hours later, feeling very tired after all the training, he decided to take break under a tree, taking a few minute breathers. Looking at the calm sunset, he started to fall asleep, resting on the trunk of the tree. Earlier the next morning, Hyuga Hinata, the heiress of the Hyuga clan, decided to take a walk as she had a load of time before meeting up with Kiba, Shino and Kurenai-sensei at their meeting place. She walked across the path which leads onto the training ground when she notices a figure lying on the ground under a tree. Thinking that the person was injured, she started to run towards the prone figure slumped on the tree. She rushed towards the figure but then noticed nothing wrong and realizes that he was asleep. She walks closer and closer, instantly recognizing him as the Kitsune ANBU after hearing endless stories of his heroics. She wanted to know more about this elusive ANBU. About half a meter away, she notices his small but buff body. She starts to blush and then she slips her hand out wanting to remove the person's mask when a hand grabs her wrist. And she jumps up in fright. "Omen, ANBU-san. I thought you were injured when you didn't move." "I apologize, Lady Hinata." Kitsune answers after recognizing her distinguishing bloodline. Then, he got up from the tree. Fixing his mask on properly and turning towards Hinata. Still looking flustered, Hinata looked at the ground and up to Kitsune. "Is something wrong, Lady Hinata?" Kitsune asked her politely. "And nothing is wrong," ANBU-san stuttered Hinata, blushing very red. Oh I Hinata, where are you?" "Hinata!" shouted a young Inuzuka voice. Kitsune recognized the voice as Inuzuka Kiba, the clan heir in his clan. He disappeared in a puff of smoke just as Kiba came into view. He ran towards Hinata and says. "Hinata, you are late. Kurenai-sensei is looking for us in the training field next door." "I am sorry, Kiba-san," said Hinata, still blushing like a strawberry. Kiba, noticing her red face, asked her. "What is wrong?" "Nothing. Nothing is wrong," stuttered Hinata. She turned around and ran ahead. Kiba, not far behind, ran after her. ANBU headquarters. Kitsune arrived back to his office and sat down on his chair. He sat there for a few more moments when he heard an eagle cry. The Hokage was calling for him and his squad for a mission. He replaced his katana and went to freshen up and replaced his mask and teleported to the tower. Hokage Tower. Arriving at the office, Kitsune knocked on the door and was told to enter the room. Only the Hokage was there. He was stood up looking outside at the village. He was sighing and smoking his pipe when he turned around and looked at Kitsune. "Ah, Kitsune, I need you and your squad to complete this mission ASAP," said the elderly Hokage, handing him a mission scroll. "Yes, Hokage-sama," said Kitsune and left. "Another assassination. What's left?" sighed the Sandaime Hokage. Meanwhile, the members of Team 7 were on the road to Wave with the bridge builder Tsunade in tow. They had a relatively peaceful journey when they were attacked by missing nins. Sakura and Sasuke took up a defensive formation while Kakashi was removed from the area. After a few minutes of fight between the Genins and the missing nins. The missing nins was knocked out by Kakashi and tied to a tree. He interrogated them for a few minutes when they woke up and found out that Tsunade lied about the ranking of the mission and what the situation was. "Tsunade-san, it seems that you lied to us about your situation. This mission is not suitable for my Genins. The rank is too high. We should go back to Konoha and report back to the Hokage," said Kakashi, looking at Tsunade. "What? How am I supposed to get home and finish building the bridge without your help? I would be killed by Gato and that would leave my grieving daughter and grandson," exclaimed Tsunade to the group. The Genins was given a choice to complete the mission or return to Konoha. Sasuke straightaway agreed to complete the mission while Sai reluctantly agreed. But Sakura felt that they weren't ready for some high-rank mission. She was overruled by the boys on the team. She grudgingly agreed and followed them as they made their way to Wave. On the road to Wave. ANBU Team Kitsune was on the way to a mission when they noticed some missing nins tied to a tree. Halting with a hand and they saw some indication that Team 7 went past this way as they noticed some ANBU marks next to the tied up men and found that Kakashi have made the marks and they continued on with their mission objectives. Team 7 was a few hours ahead of the squad when they encountered Momochi's Zabuza and an unidentified hunter nin. They were fighting for a while when Sai and Sasuke broke Kakashi out of the water prison and he pushed back Zabuza. However, assuming he killed Zabuza, Kakashi was faced with a hunter nin from Mist. He left with Zabuza's body and then Kakashi fainted with chakra exhaustion. The Genins had to carry Kakashi to Tsunade's house. Konoha. Meanwhile on the training field where Team 8 was currently training. The three Genins was going through the motion of Taijutsu training when they broke up for a breather. Hinata was leaning on the tree trunk and resting while the boys were a few meters away on the grass. Kurenai-sensei was on a high branch of the tree that Hinata was leaning on. Hinata was remembering her first meeting with the Kitsune masked ANBU that morning, hoping to find who he was, what kind of person was he. Flashback. When she was reaching out her hand to remove the Kitsune mask, she was able to remove the bottom half only and she saw the bottom half of his face with his eyes closed. She wasn't sure of what color they were as they were closed at the time before his hand grabbed her wrist. She felt her face going red and then they spoke. "Omen, ANBU-san. I thought you were injured when you didn't move." "I apologize, Lady Hinata." Kitsune answers. Then, he got up from the tree. Fixing his mask on properly and turns towards her. Still looking flustered, Hinata looked at the ground and up to Kitsune, covertly looking at his body. "Is something wrong, Lady Hinata?" Kitsune asked her politely. "And nothing is wrong, ANBU-san," stuttered Hinata, blushing very red. Oh I Hinata, where are you?" "Hinata!" shouted a young Inuzuka voice. Kitsune recognized the voice as Inuzuka Kiba, the clan heir in his clan. He disappeared. Flashback ends. Hinata was naturally curious about the infamous Kitsune ANBU. But she knew she wouldn't see him again as he was an ANBU and she is a lowly genin. She sighed and the sigh was caught by Kurenai above. She looked down at her favorite student and notices the blush on Hinata's face. The other teams were completing D-rank missions in the village or they were training with their senseis. Team 7 was heading to the small country of the Wave, little did they know, Team Kitsune was not far behind and the events that awaited them in the village of Waves. Chapter 4. ANBU in Wave. Land of Wave. It seems that ANBU Team Kitsune was sent to assassinate Gato, a local tyrant who hired many mercenaries and thugs to bully the people in Wave. They were asked to kill Gato and free the country from his tyranny. Their intel has told them that he has also hired missing nins to do his dirty work. They were to investigate and then eliminate their target. They were also aware that Team 7 was in the vicinity as well. They were told not to interfere unless they have to. Scouting around Wave, ANBU Team Kitsune went to gather the necessary intel and they found their base. They sneaked in and found that everyone has already left the base and found that they converging on the new bridge. ANBU Team Kitsune left for the bridge and there they found Kakashi fighting Mamachi's Abusa and his genins were fighting a masked boy in a wall of ice mirrors. Kitsune held up his right arm and the squad stopped. Then they sensed another chakra signature behind Kakashi. He was coming in for the kill. The unknown ninja was about to stab Kakashi when a kunai came out of nowhere and intercepted the sword. Kakashi turned around when he sensed more chakra signatures. "Oh no, more ninjas. Are they friends or foe?" Kakashi thought. Then a huge gust of wind came out of nowhere and blew away the mist. Revealing to Kakashi the two missing nins and ANBU Team Kitsune's positions. It was Kitsune who performed the justu. He stood back up and pulled out his katana. ANBU Team Kitsune regrouped around Kakashi when Kitsune ordered two of his squad members to help the genins. They immediately went to help Sasuke, Sai and Sakura who was defending Tazuna at the end of the bridge. Meanwhile, Mamachi's Abusa and the unknown missing nin was shocked that there was ambush about in Wave. They weren't aware that there are other ninjas about. Kakashi was also surprised about the squad's presence when he noticed that Kitsune was looking down the other end of the bridge. He turned around and noticed a lot of people converged at the end of the bridge. It was Gato and his mercenaries. They were watching the fight. "Haddock-san, you should go and check on your genins and have a rest," said Kitsune. Noticing that his squad members has knocked out the masked ninja and has rescued Kakashi's 3 genins. They were on the side of the bridge, awaiting further orders. Kitsune lifted his right arm up and the rest of his squad stood down. Kakashi also understood the gesture, having been in ANBU a few years ago. He stood down as well as Kitsune is his immediate superior on the field at the moment. Kitsune turned around to face Abusa and he pulled out his katana. He is aware that this was not part of his orders, but he was told to keep an eye on Team 7 as well, due to Sasuke Uchiha's presence. He pointed his katana at Abusa and then a high-speed Kenjutsu battle took place. Clanging metals could be heard every few seconds and then a few seconds later, a downed Mamachi's Abusa was on the ground with a katana blade on his carotid artery. Kitsune has defeated him and is now about to restrain him when a clapping sounds was heard on the other end of the completed bridge. It was Gato and his henchmen. They were numbering around the hundreds. They were surrounding him like a barrier. Kitsune looked up and spoke for the first time, within others hearing beside his squad. "Ah. You are Gato, the entrepreneur that bullying the people of Wave. What the heck? Why is there Konoha ANBU here?" After eliminating Gato and his henchmen, ANBU Team Kitsune members destroyed the corpses and turned to Zabuza and the now identified Haku. They stood on the side of the bridge watching the going on and they were injured. Zabuza made a truce with Kakashi and his team as he explained that his former employer is now dead. What would be the point if Tazuna died here? ANBU Team Kitsune is not allowed to meddle with other countries' missing nins, decided to leave Kakashi and his team alone as they have fulfilled their mission objective. Before they left, Zabuza and Haku, already tired from the running from Mist Hunter nins, asked Kitsune whether they could return to Konoha with them and become citizens. Kitsune, after discussing the issue with his team members and Kakashi, a former ANBU agreed and the 4 ANBUs left with the 2 missing nins in tow. Leaving Kakashi and his genins to complete their mission. Sasuke woke up unaware of ANBU team Kitsune's participation in the battle. He was unconscious when Haku knocked him out. However, he has activated his prize Sharingan and believes he is impenetrable now. Sai and Sakura has witnessed everything but didn't say anything to Sasuke cause they were ordered not to speak about Team Kitsune's interference. However, he was told that Zabuza and Haku has now defected to Konoha and has left. The rest of the mission went peaceful for another 10 days and they returned home to the village. Konoha. It has been a month since the interaction of ANBU Team Kitsune and Team 7 since the wave mission. They have not seen each other for a while when Kitsune came out of his office at headquarters and came into contact with the 3 Jounin senseis of the current genins. They were talking amongst themselves. They were walking past headquarters without being aware of it. Kitsune looked around and about to leave when a voice stopped him and he looked up to the speaker and it was Kakashi. He was looking at him and the other 2 Jounin stopped what they were doing. Kitsune-sama, how are you doing? Haven't seen you for a while since the mission in Wave. I am fine. Thank you very much, Haddock-san. Good day, Sarutobi-san and Yuhi-san. And with a shushin, he left for the tower. The 3 Jounin started to talk amongst themselves about the antisocial and elusive ANBU. They don't like riddles and they want to know who is beneath the mask and so far they found that he is small, antisocial, less talkative and very loyal to the Hokage. Hokage Tower. Kitsune arrived at the tower and went to get his orders from the Hokage. The Sannin was currently wrestling with the piles of paperwork that was on his desk and he looked up and said come in, Kitsune. Kitsune appeared in his office. He bowed in respect to the Hokage. You asked to see me, Hokage-sama. The Sannin turned around and looked at the young ANBU and said to him. You and your squad will not be doing any more missions for a few months starting this weekend. You be needed here as it was time for the Chunin exams. It's going to be hosted in Konoha this year. I understand Hokage-sama. Kitsune nodded in respect. I need you and your team to protect the area when the exams start and report any situations. At once Kitsune disappeared in a poof of smoke. Chapter 5. The Chunin exam starts. It seems that it was the time of the year again where talented genins can take the Chunin exams to become Chunins. Chunin's exams first stage. All the rookies assembled at the room for the written exam as they were all selected to take the Chunin's exams by their senseis. In the exams hall, they met Ibiki Marino, the examiner for the written exam. Now you are all here to see if you're ready for the next level of ninja, however it's not easy as you think there are 10 questions on the exam, answer them and if you caught cheating, you are disqualified from the exam. Now begin. The genins started writing their answers, some using their special techniques to find the answers. Ibiki and other Chunins observed to find the cheaters. 30 minutes later the exam. Various cheaters was caught leaving the Konoha 12 and the Sand siblings and various others still in the exam. End of first level of the Chunin exam. The next level of the exam was held by a Jounin named Mitarashi Anko, the next proctor of the exam. The Forest of Death. Alright, this time, all of you are divided in team and you are required to find both of these scrolls as you are holding one yourselves. However, if you lose it, you are disqualified from the exam. You can use any means necessary, however you must battle each other in the Forest of Death and when you have both the Heaven and Earth scrolls make your way towards the tower in the center of the forest. However, those who failed to acquire both scroll by sundown in 3 days is disqualified. Now fill out your team forms, the exams will start in 5 minutes, good luck. Entrance of the Forest of Death. All teams speeded in all directions. Many hours later, Team Kurenai was racing deeper in the forest. Noticing how big the animals and bugs were, they quietly speeded past not to agitate the animals. Hinata activator by Akigan to find any signs of the other teams, while Kiba and Akamaru used their highly developed noses to sniff out any danger. Shino sent his bugs for reconnaissance. Soon after they managed to acquire the earth scroll they needed using the terrain to their advantage. Team Asuma was leisurely walking through the forest. Thanks to Shikamaru's genius plan, they managed to acquire the heaven scroll they needed. Team Guy already acquired their scroll, thanks to Niji and Lee. Elsewhere at the same time Team Kakashi was running in the trees to find any team with the heaven scroll. They are running out of time as 2 days had already passed. The Sand siblings were the first to reach the tower due to Gaara's very aggressive behavior. He had forcibly made the team of ninja give up their scroll through promise of killing them. Both Kankuro and Tamari stood there silently as they were afraid of Gaara. Ignoring them, Gaara walked through the door of the tower silently with his sibling behind him. Team Kakashi were last, but first they needed a scroll. They looked around, noticing a ninja with a sound headband killing another on the ground in cold blood. Sakura froze in fear at the sight, while Sasuke clenched his fists. Sai was stuttering. Noticing their presence, the sound ninja turned around, feeling the murderous intent coming from the ninja. Sakura fell to her knees in fear, while Sasuke and Sai stood in front to protect her, sweating while holding their kunai in their battle stances. Knowing they could never escape, Sasuke activated his Sharingan and charged toward the sound ninja, throwing shurikens and kunes. The sound ninja easily blocked them. Sai charges in with his kunai, but is easily subdued by the sound ninja and rendered unconscious. Sasuke, having observed the sound ninja movements with his Sharingan, quickly decipher his movements and cause a small wound onto the sound ninja. Intrigued to how quickly Sasuke decipher his movements, the sound ninja was interested how far the young genin would go. He put his hands together to cast a genjutsu. Sasuke, standing in front of Sakura, both stood frozen in fear as they witnessed the nightmare before them. Staggering to reach his kunai to end the nightmare, Sasuke, in a burst of desperation, thrust his kunai into his thigh. He gasped his leg in pain. The genjutsu stopped. Sakura fell to the ground, frozen, drenched in tears and sweat. Sasuke staggering as he lost all feeling in his right leg and maintaining his posture. Impressed by the young genin, the sound ninja laughed hysterically, wanting to see more of Sasuke. In an instant he disappeared from Sasuke's sight. Sasuke could not react as he felt something biting him on the neck. Sasuke turns to find the ninja biting him, grasped his shoulder in pain as a burning sensation was ripping through his body every second. He fell to the ground unconscious. The sound ninja then threw his scroll of heaven toward Sakura and then disappeared. Few minutes later. Regaining their composure, Sakura bandaged Sasuke's leg and Sai and Sasuke regained consciousness. They were lost in thought to what just happens. They brush off the thought and then hurried towards the tower, as there were only 1 hour left to the deadline of the exam. Elsewhere in the Forest of Death. The mysterious sound ninja smirks as he found a new interesting pawn. Literashi Anko appeared behind him. "Stop right there, you. Well, if it isn't my former student, come to talk about old times. You're Orochimaru, aren't you? It seemed you caught me red-handed." Ripping away the young skin revealed a snake-like face that could only belong to one person. "What are you after, Orochimaru?" "No, let's just say I found a new toy." Anko grasped her shoulder in pain as a burning sensation was ripping through her body. "I should have known. Who?" "You find out soon enough," laughing Orochimaru hysterically. "Let's just say he like you." "What?" Anko fell to her knees as she was in severe pain, knowing she had to take down Orochimaru at any costs. She got up and rushed towards Orochimaru to kill him. He smirks in amusement in front of her but stood there not caring. A loud sound was heard. Anko realized Orochimaru had disappeared. An echo was heard. "There is no rush, Anko, soon Konoha will be destroyed, it's only a matter of time," laughing hysterically before fading. "Come back here," shouted Anko. There was silence. Anko clenched her fists in frustration. They were a threat to the village now. 4 ANBU appeared in front to receive their orders. "Lady Anko, what are our orders?" requested the leader. "Orochimaru is around here somewhere, we must find him at once, report this to Lord Hokage immediately." "Yes." At once the 4 ANBU disappeared in an instant. Anko followed soon after. Elsewhere. 3 ANBU teams was searching for Orochimaru. Kitsune and his team was searching frantically for Orochimaru. Using his keen sense of smell, he could smell fresh blood. He followed the trail to find Orochimaru, killing an unknown ninja in cold blood. Kitsune signaled his team to spread out to surround Orochimaru. Already noticing their presence, Orochimaru laughed hysterically, then shouted. "Show yourselves, Konoha legendary Kitsune." Kitsune signaled his team, surrounding the snake Sannin. "Orochimaru, you've been deemed as a threat to the village, therefore must be eliminated." Orochimaru chuckled. "You think you take me, don't make me laugh, you brat. Don't take our captain lightly, Orochimaru. Oh, is your little captain so strong, you all have to hide behind him?" Annoyed with that comment, the other 3 charged toward the Sannin. Orochimaru smirked. In an instant blood fell to the ground as 3 bodies fell without moving. Kitsune looked with horror as his team was taken down in an instant. They were alive, but just barely. Orochimaru walked towards one to finish off. He lifted his Kusanagi sword and about to slash away what was remaining. He raised his arm, then thrust it down until he was blocked by a katana, who knocked his sword away. Orochimaru bounced back a few feet. "So the legendary Kitsune have decided to fight. Orochimaru, you are merciless. What does that make you? You a professional assassin, you no different than me." "You are wrong. I do this to protect the village." "The village, you are known as a killer to protect those worthless fools. How amusing someone strong like you have to answer to those weak fools. It's been my mission to protect the village. You should be joining me instead of those cowards." "Never, Orochimaru." Sparks was flying from every direction. Kitsune batted Orochimaru with his katana and tried to stab Orochimaru and missed. He got slashed in the shoulder when he pushed back 2 feet. He grasped his shoulder for a moment when a flurry of snake flew towards Kitsune. He slashed them away with his katana until two snake coiled itself around his legs and pulled him down. He couldn't move his arms and legs at all as Orochimaru snakes coiled themselves, immobilizing him. Orochimaru smirked at how helpless the ANBU looked before him. "Do you want to change your mind?" "Never, over my dead body, Orochimaru." "So you choose to die over power, how amusing, I can make that wish come true." Kitsune could not react, he felt various blows over his body, he winced silent in pain until he was stabbed through the stomach, he spat blood as the pain slowly intensified, he could not take any more, he started to lose unconsciousness when he heard a voice from inside himself. "Naruto, destroy him who hurt you, let me help you, I'll save you from the pain." The Kyuubi offered his chakra to Naruto. In an instant Kitsune ripped the snakes binding him, then got up, and Orochimaru seemed shocked as he looked into Kitsune's eyes. He could feel such murderous intent in the red eyes of the ANBU agent. "So the Kitsune have got back up, but what can you do with all those injuries?" Orochimaru looked as the young ANBU agent was covered in wounds, some was shallow, some was deep, he smirked until his smirk turned into nothing. He could see the wounds was regenerating, slowly his wounds was healing, first the blood stopped, and then the wounds was closing and then healed. Orochimaru was thinking how this was possible until he came to one conclusion. You that Jinchuriki who should have died 12 years ago, aren't you?" Kitsune remained silent as he looked dazed. "This just got even more interesting," Orochimaru said with amusement. Orochimaru put his hands together to cast a ninjutsu, he summoned dozens of snakes, they rushed towards Kitsune, completely surrounded, he slashed them away with his katana, then Orochimaru rushed in with his kusanagi sword, he was blocked by a katana, knocking his sword away. Orochimaru bounced back a few feet, seeing only lust for blood, he laughed hysterically. "This is the true Kitsune, an assassin known for killing." Orochimaru kept on laughing until he suddenly felt something hit him. He had been slashed from the torso downwards. Losing a lot of blood and realizing that this was problem, he decided to end the fight before he ended up being cut down, but first he needed to take care of the problem, the Jinchuriki. Immediately he held his hands together, Kitsune suddenly rushed and thrust his blade through Orochimaru without any hesitation. Orochimaru smiled before disappearing, in his place came dozens of snakes coiling themselves around Kitsune, he struggles to get free, but was trapped. Orochimaru appeared in front smiling, Orochimaru undone the ANBU uniform to reveal a seal on the stomach. Orochimaru raised his hand, and chakra flared from the fingertips, 5-element seal. Orochimaru thrust his hand onto the seal, Kitsune struggles yelled with pain, then slowly fell unconscious, the snakes let go, then Kitsune fell to the ground. Orochimaru was pleased but started to lose vision due to the injury caused by Kitsune, so he decided to leave. "That was entertaining, we'll meet again, Kitsune." Few minutes later. Anko and another team of ANBU was still searching until they spotted bodies, they identified the bodies of members of Kitsune, they checked the 3 bodies if they were still alive, Kitsune was unconscious with small wounds further on. "Are they alive?" "Yes, just barely, Lady Anko." Anko asked one of the fallen ANBU what happened here. Orochimaru whispered the fallen ANBU before losing unconsciousness. Anko gasped and looked at Kitsune, thinking why would Orochimaru spare lives, realizing the 3 members had the same injuries, Kitsune was only unconscious with minor injuries, thinking Kitsune must have driven away Orochimaru. "Take them back to the village and inform the Hokage at once." "Yes, Lady Anko." Team Kitsune was taken to the hospital. Chapter 6 Chunin's Exams Part 2. Chunin's Exams Second Stage, the Forest of Death. The preliminaries of the Chunin exams was happening inside the tower, while many ANBU squads were patrolling the area after hearing that Orochimaru was in the vicinity, and they were searching the forest and surrounding areas. Inside the tower. The Genins was randomly pitted against each other to see who would go the next round of the exam, 10 matches with 20 participants. Sasuke vs Yoroi. Neji vs Hinata. Sakura vs Ino. Temari vs Tenten. R vs Lee. Sai vs Kiba. Shikamaru vs Kin. Tenkuro vs Misumi. Shino vs Aku. Toji vs Dosu. After all the fights were finished, the winning Genins was asked to stay behind. The winners were Sasuke, Neji, Temari, Gaara, Sai, Shikamaru, and Kankuro and Shino. They were asked to choose a number from a box, and this was the lineup. Neji 1 vs I 2. Sasuke 3 vs Gaara 4. Temari 5 vs Shikamaru 6. Kankuro 7 vs Shino 8. After all the matches have been decided, the Hokage dismissed all the people in the tower. He will see them all in a month's time and congratulate them on their training. All the Genins and their Jounin sensei left the tower. The Hokage and his usual entourage of guards left the tower in the middle of the Forest of Death. He has a lot of paperwork to complete and to see if Kitsune is injured or not after hearing about his encounter with Orochimaru from Anko. Elsewhere. Kitsune woke up in a strange room. Remembering what happened, he turned his head to find his team in bed. They were resting on the opposite beds. Where am I? He asked himself. He looked around the room, the sun was shining into the room and he could tell it was near midday. He tried to get out of bed but he fell down with a wince. Later in the day. After his encounter with the missing nin, Orochimaru, Kitsune staggered back to ANBU headquarters while the rest of his team are resting. And he popped a blood pill to replenish his blood supply and get his strength back. When he got to his office, he collapsed on the two-seated sofa and fell asleep. Meanwhile, the Hokage was back in his office and he was looking into his crystal ball and noticed that Kitsune has arrived safely back to ANBU headquarters. He has removed his mask and fell asleep like an innocent child when he noticed some red chakra leaking out of Kitsune. He wasn't aware of it yet when the Hokage shunned into his office and went to check on the seal. The seal has slightly been tampered with. "Oh no, we need Jiraiya for this, he is the only who can reinforce the seal," said the Hokage. Watching the boy sleep on. He feels guilty for what he has done to the boy. Departing for his office, the Hokage was about to summon some ANBUs to go and locate Jiraiya when he received some reports of a pervert peeking in the bathhouses. He immediately thought of Jiraiya and with a poof, he left the office without his usual entourage of guards. What they need to talk about is very top secret. Bathhouse. Arriving at the bathhouse, the Sannin Hokage walked around, greeting any people who were around, and then he heard a giggle from one of the far walls. He turned towards the sound and found the back of his former student peeking into the bathhouse. Walking up to him, the Sannin Hokage made a small cough and Jiraiya said, "Go away, I am busy here." The Sannin Hokage coughed again. He was ignored and he then coughed again and again. Jiraiya, having enough of the interruptions and turned around and saw his former sensei behind him. He stood up and said, "Hello, Sarutobi-sensei, how are you these days?" "Fine, still pursuing the hobby, I see," said Sarutobi Hiruzen. Amused by his former student's antics. He started to walk away from the bathhouse. Jiraiya followed him and together the two men went to the Hokage tower to discuss something. Hokage office. "Jiraiya, I need you to check something for me. This is utmost great importance," said the Hokage. Looking very serious for once. He looked at Jiraiya, who asked. "What do you need me for?" "I need you to check a seal, a very important seal. You need to repair or reinforce it before anything happens," said the Hokage. "What seal is this and where is it and what is going to happen if I don't repair or reinforce it?" questioned Jiraiya. "The Shishu Fuijin over seal." "What the? That seal hasn't been used since Minato used it on his son to seal in the Kyuubi 12 years ago. Also, his son is dead. How come that seal is still being used?" "What I am about to tell you is triple SSS secret, Minato's son is not dead. He has been living in Konoha for the last 12 years. He has been under my and the council's care for the last 12 years," said the Hokage carefully. "What? You lied to me. You told me he was dead," said a shocked Jiraiya. "I was trying to protect him, but the council is defying me every step of the way. If I didn't do what I did, he would be executed years ago," explained the elderly man to his former student. "Where is Naruto now? I was supposed to be his godfather," exclaimed Jiraiya. Getting angry that his former sensei lied about his godson's existence. He wants to see him. Quickly calculating the time of Naruto's birth and the present time. It would Naruto, 12 years old and graduating the ninja academy. "Is he in the village now? He is not off with his genin team on a mission or something?" asked Jiraiya, glaring at his sensei. "No, he is currently sleeping in his office at ANBU headquarters," said the Hokage, shocking Jiraiya when he said ANBU. Jiraiya increased his glare at his sensei and said, "What the? What is he doing there? What do you mean his office?" He was still glaring at his sensei, the father figure that he grew up with when he was a genin. He is an ANBU captain at 12 years old. He leads his own squad called Team Kitsune. "What? Kitsune? He is the infamous Kitsune, one of the strongest ANBU. We got here in the village. What have you done to the boy? He is only 12 and is already an ANBU. He should be with friends of his own age and learning to be genins." Jiraiya was so incensed about the situation. A flare-up of chakra can be seen around his body. Killer intent could also be felt as well. But the Sannin, being the Hokage, was able to sustain the pressure caused by it and waited for Jiraiya to cool down a bit before continuing on. "The council has outvoted me several occasions and I am only able to preserve his life as long I did. A lot of them were asking for his execution and only I and a selected few know who Kitsune really is. He was trained early and is now a strong ANBU. I want to see him." Still bristling from all the information he was told, he first wanted to see his godson after being lied to for so long. He looked pointedly at his sensei. "Let go to his office. He's supposedly still asleep," said the Sannin Hokage. ANBU headquarters. Both men has shunshin to ANBU headquarters and was about to walk to Kitsune's office when they encounter Kakashi and Asuma, who was talking as they walked. They looked up and saw the Hokage and Jiraiya outside ANBU headquarters. They stopped and bowed in respect of the Hokage. The two was discussing something about training their genins. The two older men acknowledged the two younger men and went into ANBU headquarters. They went to Kitsune's office and found the young boy sprawled on the sofa and he was asleep. He noticed two chakra signatures and woke up with a kunai in his right hand. He turned around and found the Hokage with a toad Sannin next to him. He quickly bowed in respect to his superiors and notices his mask on the table. "No need to put the mask back on. We want to talk to you for a few minutes," said the Hokage. "Yes, Hokage-sama. Please sit down," said the now-named boy called Naruto, Kitsune. He stood up straight and waited for the two men to start talking. Jiraiya looked at his godson and was shocked to see that he does in fact resemble Minato in many ways. The bright blonde hair, the style of it and the recognizable blue eyes and the stance he carries himself. He wasn't a very big or tall boy. He believes that his growth spurt hasn't come in yet. He was wearing an ANBU uniform and is disheveled from his early nap. Physically, Naruto does resemble Minato, but in others he looks like his mother, Kushina. However, looking at the expressions in his eyes, Jiraiya could tell that Naruto is a seasoned ninja that has killed a lot of people. His chakra flare a bit when the Sandaime Hokage said, "Kitsune, please let Jiraiya look at the seal on your stomach." "Yes sir." He lifted his top part of his uniform and focused his chakra and the Shishu Fuijin over seal appeared. Jiraiya now truly believes that this is Naruto. There is no other child with that over seal. Jiraiya looked at the seal and noticed the imperfections and noted the changes that he need to make to reinforce the seal. He indicated that he was done. Naruto pulled his uniform down and stood up straight and looked at both men. The Hokage said, "We will be leaving now. Carry on with your work. Don't mind us." "Yes Hokage-sama, goodbye Hokage-sama, Jiraiya-sama." Naruto returned to his office with his mask on. He was told to have his mask on all times unless told not to. Outside ANBU headquarters. Jiraiya was stalking out of the headquarters and he glared at his former sensei. Now he has seen and met Naruto, Kitsune, he was very unhappy to see his godson has turned into an antisocial being. He should have been the happy and laughing young boy instead of the ice cube that he was at the moment. He is determined to change him and spend some time with him as he should have done years ago. Still glaring at his sensei, Jiraiya was mulling over whether to go and find Tsunade about Naruto. She was his godmother, she was asked by Kushina when she was pregnant with Naruto. Will he find her in time before Naruto stays the way he is? Chapter 7 The Chunin's exam ends. Chunin's exams final stage, 1 month later. The day for the finals of the Chunin's exams arrives, Naruto Kitsune and his squad was in the stadium guarding all the feudal lords and other important guests that came to Konoha to witness the Chunin exams. The Hokage and the Akatsuki were there to witness the fights of their genins. Bets and loud chatter could be heard around the stadium. Many people were mingling around the stadium when a loud boom could be heard and then the Hokage stood up. "Welcome to Konoha, my lords and ladies and everyone to the final stage of the Chunin exams. Hope you enjoy the incoming fights and have a wonderful time in Konoha. Let's the fights begin." And he sat down on his seat and he glanced at the Akatsuki. The Akatsuki was looking out at the fields and its participants. He didn't see Sasuke there as the proctor, Genma Shiranui was explaining the process to the genins on the field. Then, only Neji and Sai were left on the field while the rest of the genins was walking to the waiting room. Kitsune was situated close to the field and the Hokage when he sensed a minute flare of chakra behind. It was a villager, he was dressed finely and he's sweating a bit. He was watching the match. Kitsune observed him for a few moments and turned around to observe the match. He was sat on the roof of a lower building near the stands so that he can observe what is happening around him. He could sense different levels of chakra as Konoha Shinobi was also welcome to see the exams as well. Kitsune was checking around him and he was aware of where his subordinates were situated. Going back to the fight between Neji and Sai was intense as you could see the Hyugas Byakugan in action and ink just flying around the stadium. The fight seems to take a bit longer as both participants were so stubborn to not lose. Kitsune meanwhile still observing the fight noticed the same villager sweating profusely and he stood up and walked up to the offending man. He whispered in his ear and the man stiffened up and stood up and left with Kitsune. Walking away with Kitsune, the man fidgeted about when Kitsune indicated to his subordinate to take him to Marino Ibiki. Turning back, Kitsune returned to his original position and found that Neji has won his match and Sasuke's match has been pushed to the end as he has not arrived. It was Temari and Shikamaru's match now. They were mentally challenging each other. Kitsune gave a small smile under his mask as he was aware of what the two was doing. They were trying to outdo each other. But neither was giving an inch. The fight lasted for nearly an hour when Shikamaru finally gave up with a reason of overuse of chakra. The winner was Temari. The next match was Kankuro and Shino, but Kankuro gave up straight away, not even setting foot on the field. He didn't want to fight for some strange reason. So with a gap in the matches, loud chatter and numerous bets could be heard again in the stadium. People were getting impatient about the wait when Kitsune could hear a minor commotion near the exit. He went to investigate the sounds and found a few cats have a catfight around an overfilled trash can. He lifted the top and found a few fish bones on the top and found that the rubbish was recently. He found that something is going on but decided to investigate later and he went back into the stadium. Going back in and he noticed that Sasuke and Kakashi has arrived. Gaara and Sasuke were in the middle of their fight. They were avoiding each other and then Gaara started to partially transform into Shukaku, shooting out sands at Sasuke. He cut through the different layers of sands with a kunai and then running up the side wall, he held his right wrist and charged up a Chidori and he started to run towards Gaara. Reaching him, he plunged his wrist into the big bowl of sand and started to pull back when a commotion broke out. It seems that the villager that Kitsune apprehended earlier has escaped and now is causing problems. About to move, Kitsune sensed a genjutsu is being performed. He brought his hands in a seal and mumbled Kai and he leapt up and went to see what has happened. He looked towards the Hokage and saw a few unfamiliar people surrounding the Hokage. He lifted his right arm and his squad leapt with him to the Hokage on the roof. Arriving at the roof, Kitsune and his squad was a little bit late when a purple barrier came up from nowhere. He ordered his squad to find ways to dismantle the purple barrier, but don't touch it after throwing a kunai at it. It disintegrated. He analyzed the situation and suddenly saw the answer to the problem. He signaled to his squad and explained the plan to the others. Two of them stayed behind to act as a decoy to the four sounds ninjas on the outside to the barrier. While Kitsune and his subordinate went another way. They moved away silently. They sneaked in the building underneath and went straight for the roof. They noticed a latched window on and some disturbed tiles on one side. They went for that and they silently moved through the gap. They found that they were inside the barrier and they made their way to the Hokage. Reaching the scene, where the Hokage and Orochimaru were fighting, Kitsune pulled out his katana and his subordinate did the same. They parried the kusanagi that Orochimaru pulled out to kill the Hokage. The Hokage looked up in shock to see Kitsune and Inu protecting him. They pushed Orochimaru back and flanked the Hokage. "Are you hurt, Hokage-sama?" asked Kitsune of his Hokage. "No. I am fine. Thank you Kitsune," said Sarutobi. "Less talk and more fight," sneered Orochimaru when he recovered from the pushback from the two ANBU. He lifted his sword at his former teacher and said, "I am going to destroy Konoha." "No, you not. I am not letting you touch Konoha. I am going to take you down here and now." The fight started to gather momentum and many jutsus went flying overhead and back, causing a lot of damage to the roofed area that they are fighting on. Then suddenly Orochimaru decided to level the battlefield by using his forbidden jutsu, the impure world resurrection jutsu, to resurrect the dead. 3 coffins rose up from the ground. The Hokage looked at the coffins with disgust and shouted to Orochimaru, "You completed the technique. You know it is unwise to bring back the dead. Nothing can come of it. Gukuku. Less talk and more fight." Muttering a curse word, the Hokage turned to Kitsune and Inu and said, "We must not let any of these coffins rise, as they contain the 3 previous Hokages. I can beat them one-on-one as I also a Hokage, but not all 3. "Hi, Hokage-sama. We will do as you command," replied both ANBU. Throwing shurikens and kunes to force the coffins down, only they missed, and all 3 opened up to show the Shadame, the Nidame and the Yondame Hokages. They stepped out and stood in front of Orochimaru, and the 3 Hokages looked around and noticed the Sandame for the first time. "You have grown old and feeble, Sarutobi," said the Shadame Hokage. "Well, the Nidame Hokage," exclaimed Impure World Resurrection. "You have improved then." Looking at Orochimaru, the Yondame Hokage remained silent. "Kukukikuku. Less of the talking and more of killing." Shoving 3 kunes with the seals into their heads and they started to move. The Sandame then ordered Inu, "You with me to fight the Shadame and the Nidame, well Kitsune, you have to handle the Yondame yourself. Don't get killed." Hoping he has made the right choice. "Hi, Hokage-sama," said both ANBU. They moved off to fight. The Sandame and Inu, Shadame and Nidame. Naruto faced the Yondame. Looking at each other, the Yondame and Kitsune started to fight each other with taijutsus mixed with ninjutsus. They weren't giving an inch to each other. They blocked and parried each other's moves. Until Kitsune heard the name Hiraition no Jutsu and got ready to parry any moves that results from that technique. He blocked it with his katana and did a roundhouse kick on the Yondame's head. He was blocked again. The fight was becoming high speed and you can see 2 yellow blurs and they kept on blocking each other until Kitsune found an opening and kicked the Yondame back for a bit and tried to help the Sandame as their battle was encroaching on his side of the roof. The 3 of them pushed back the Shadame and Nidame for a few moments when they saw the Yondame has gotten up and walking up to them. The 3 attacked again and Inu was then injured by the Nidame and he was made unconscious. That left the Sandame and Kitsune. They were against 4 not 3 enemies when a creepy and dark voice called out. Who dares to disrupt the realm of the dead? Everyone looked around and they could see the ghostly figure of the Shinigami hanging over them. Orochimaru, you have disrupted the realm of dead too many times. The dead is not something that you can mess with. I will not allow you to tamper with the dead. I will take back what is mine. Orochimaru gulped and was sweating profusely. He was scared of the Shinigami as he was trying outrun him for many years. Hence the body-swapping jutsu that he was developing. So, the Shinigami decides to take his arms as punishment as it wasn't his time yet. With a wave of his hand, the Kunace dropped out of the three Hokage's heads. The Shadame and the Nidame started to fade away, but the Yondame was still there. Orochimaru then turned to the Yondame, killed them all. But the Yondame didn't move. Orochimaru, being the genius that he is, signaled to his sound ninjas and they took out the barrier. They ran off with the snake Sannin, cancelling the invasion on Konoha. The Sandame stopped the Yondame and Kitsune from chasing after Orochimaru. They stood beside him on the roof waiting for backup etc. On the roof. New squads of ANBU came up to the roof and they all greeted the Sandame when they suddenly see the Yondame standing there with Kitsune. They all gawked at his appearance and then they bowed to Kitsune. Then, they bombarded the Sandame with news of the village. But the Sandame then said, Minato, go back to the office and wait there. I will be there as soon as possible. Kitsune, you need to stop at Jinchuriki by any means. Hi, Hokage-sama, said Kitsune. The boy then leapt off the roof and rushed after the Sand siblings who had fled due to Gaara being injured in his match with Sasuke. The Sandame knew this decision he made was unwise, but the village was in trouble, he had no choice. Kitsune was experienced enough for tracking. Konoha Forest. Sasuke was also following them, he was close behind until Temari stopped to face Sasuke while Kankuro carried Gaara away. Gaara was feeling his body torn apart from the inside, the pain he felt from the injury Sasuke gave him and the influence of the Shukaku inside of him, he yells cries of pain. Kitsune tracked the Sand Jinchuriki and was behind them, noticing someone behind them Kankuro stopped and placed Gaara by a tree ledge, he turned around to see an ANBU agent in front of him, realizing who he was. You. They sent Konoha legendary Kitsune after us. I guess I have no choice but to fight all out if they send their top ANBU agent after us, Kankuro readied himself. Please step aside, it not you I wish to apprehend, it is Gaara I must confine. Kankuro becomes annoyed with that comment and challenges him to a fight. Kitsune had no choice, so he pulled out his katana, then assume his stance, Kankuro pulled out his puppet, the crow. Immediately the crow starts attacking, Kitsune dodges. Seeing the ANBU agent having trouble, Kankuro seemed pleased as he was up against Konoha top ANBU and he was dominating, his puppet opened its mouth to reveal a large needle laced with dripping poison, Kitsune knew this meant trouble, the puppet then thrust its head towards Kitsune, he blocked with his katana, then the puppet head opened to shoot out smoke clouds, Kitsune could not see anything, he waited for the smoke to clear, he sees that the puppet and Kankuro had disappeared. He noticed Gaara still on the ledge, he stood there until a sound was heard behind him, he turned his head to see the puppet rushing behind him, with its forearms shaped into swords, with no time to react, the puppet pushed Kitsune towards a tree side, dropping his katana Kitsune, felt some pain in left arm and right leg, as he saw blade pierces his arm and leg, the puppet then opened its mouth to reveal the same needle, it edges its head slowly towards Kitsune. Kitsune could not react, as his body was feeling numb and pain, he slowly closes his eyes, hearing a voice deep inside himself. Naruto, destroy him, destroy those who hurt you, let me help you. Give me more chakra. Ahahaha, good to hear. While the puppet edges closer and closer until it shattered into pieces, Kankuro gasped at what just happened, he could see massive red chakra enveloping Kitsune, and his puppet was in pieces except for the head, and its sword was still embedded in the ANBU arm and leg, Kitsune got up, and Kankuro seemed shocked as he looked into Kitsune's eyes, he could feel such murderous intent in the red eyes of the ANBU agent. Frozen with fear, Kankuro stood there as Kitsune silently walked toward him pulling out the sword in his arm and leg, Kankuro could not understand what had happened, he had cornered the ANBU with his puppet. What happened? You should have been finished. Not quite, I merely destroyed your puppet. But how? The poison should have prevented that. Shocked, Kankuro couldn't comprehend what just happened, frozen with fear, Kitsune walked towards him, Kankuro now knew why he was known as Konoha legendary Kitsune, he knew from the start from the many stories he heard of this legendary figure, and now it is the truth. Now, will you step aside? I cannot, protecting Gaara is my absolute mission. Kankuro pulled one of his chakra strings, the crow head started to move and rushed behind Kitsune, it stopped few inches behind Kitsune before shattering. What happened? My puppet's head. You do not learn, do you? But how did you do that? Kitsune remained silent, then now, step aside. Kankuro fell to his knees due to his powerlessness. Kitsune's eyes turned back into the blue eyes then walked towards Gaara, feeling the effects of his injuries, in an instant a cloud of smoke appeared to reveal a large brown grotesque figure. Kitsune looked on while Kankuro looked with fear. Few minutes later. Kitsune was having trouble with the Sand Jinchuriki as it rampaged across the forest chasing Kitsune, closing and Gaara swung his tail and slammed Kitsune through various trees. Gaara laughed hysterically until he was kicked aside. Gaara looked to see who was responsible. He saw Kitsune standing covered with various wounds. His mask broken, Kitsune threw away what was left of his mask, revealing his ice-cold blue eyes, expressionless face. Interesting, most people I send flying does not survive, but you're too much. Shut up, replied Kitsune. What did you say? I said shut up. Gaara then looked into Kitsune's eyes, he could feel murderous intent in the red eyes, he shudders a little, before brushing off the thought. Don't look down on me, judging me as a monster, yelled Gaara. Kitsune remained silent. See, you people are all the same, you have no idea how I feel. Gaara was turning more into his biju as his anger rose. Maybe I do, I am the legendary Kitsune. What do you know? I'm known as Kitsune, to protect the village is my duty, and I stop anyone who endangers it. Shocked at the comment, Gaara lashed out towards Kitsune, having no more patience, Kitsune clenched his right fist and blue and red chakra gathered around it, he thrust his fist into the stomach of Gaara. Gaara stopped in midair, his biju form slowly dissolved to reveal his original body, he coughed up some blood before falling down on the ground, Kitsune slowly dropped to the ground afterwards, as his injuries was more severe than he realized. Gaara laid on the ground as he couldn't move, that one blow that made him useless. He looked at the ANBU across the ground, now knew why he was known as Konoha legendary Kitsune. Kankuro came down to see what happened, he noticed both Gaara and Kitsune was beaten, he walked towards Kitsune to finish him off, suddenly Gaara stopped him. Kankuro, no, let him be. Kankuro, wondering what happened, then walked towards Gaara, he picked his brother up, then walked away. They hurried on back. At the same time, reinforcements sent by the Sannin came to retrieve Kitsune. Further outside Konoha. Gaara and Kankuro, later joined by Temari after her fight with Sasuke. Gaara thought what Kitsune said and wonders, a monster protecting what most important, Gaara smiled at the thought. Kankuro and Temari noticed his smile and wondered what happened between the two of them. Chapter 8, Meeting his father. The next day. Minato looked at the ANBU masked boy man that was standing next to the far wall with professional ease. He had the posture of a professional assassin that has seen a lot. He wasn't too seriously injured after that intense fight that they had on the roof. It seems that he was one ninja that can fight on par with him if given a chance. From what he heard from the fight with the Sand Jinchuriki, Kitsune seemed covered in wound, luckily the med ninja had healed most of them. Minato tried to talk to him. But he wasn't getting anything out of him as Kitsune wasn't socially prepared to chat to other people. Minato, feeling very suspicious of Kitsune, tried once again to open him up. But failed spectacularly again. About to open his mouth, Minato tried to speak when the door of the office opened to admit the Sannin. He was dressed again in the traditional robes and he sat down and noticed that Kitsune was lounging against the far wall. Kitsune stood straight and bowed to the Sannin. Kitsune, you do not have to bow down to me. You are the leader of the village. You deserve the respect. Said Kitsune efficiently. The Sannin sighed and indicated to the silent ANBU and said, Kitsune, please wait outside. Hi, Hokage-sama. Said Kitsune and left the room. Then he spoke to Minato for the first time since entering the room. Minato, how come you still alive? You should be dead 12 years ago when you sealed the Kyuubi. How come you still alive? But I don't know why. I have some ideas but I need to think about it for a while. Said Minato. Okay, let's talk about something else. Said the Sannin. How's my son, Naruto, doing? Asked Minato good-naturedly. That comment shocked the Sannin. He was visibly shaking in front of Minato. He didn't know whether to tell him the truth or just ignored him. The right choice will be the former, but he is scared of what will happen if he chose the second. Minato, about Naruto, he is alright, but you cannot see him at the moment. Said the Sannin, feeling nervous, very nervous indeed. Why not? Minato asked. Because he is busy at the moment. He isn't in the village. Said the Sannin. You're running the Chunin exams here and he should be a genin, so he should be here competing. So where is he? Minato, please calm down. As I told you, he is fine at the moment. Sarutobi said, trying to placate Minato but was failing miserably. Where is he? Sarutobi, where is he? Tell me, where is he? Minato asked again. A stubborn and angry look appears on his face. He was gripping the side of the desk and his knuckles turned white and he slowly repeated his previous question. Sarutobi, where is my son? Where is Naruto? Minato asked again to the elder Hokage, smoking from his pipe. Sarutobi, seeing no end to this route of questioning, and sighed. He looked at Minato for a few moments and decided what he needed to do. Let me tell you a tale and then I tell you where Naruto is. Explained Sarutobi. 10 minutes later. Minato was red with fury after hearing the tale of his son. In the case of the village and the ninjas, his son is deemed as dead, so no one knows that the Kyuubi is still in the village. But Naruto is living under another identity, so he had a relatively easier life, but only under certain conditions that Sarutobi had to agree to let Naruto live. Damn council, they are running my son's life. Thought Minato. Sarutobi observed the changing of expressions going across Minato's face, and he knew he has to tell him where Naruto is, as he could take back the Hokage position, and he needs to know everything. So, where is Naruto now? Asked Minato, calming down and sat back down on his seat. Sarutobi took a deep breath and calmed down. He is outside. He is the ANBU agent that was fighting you. Said Sarutobi to Minato. Shocking the blonde to the core as he got up from his seat and went around the big wooden desk. What? The ANBU that fought nearly on par with me is Naruto. I don't believe you. It cannot be true. What have you done to him? I want to see him now. Said Minato. The Sannin went to the door and motioned Kitsune into the room. Minato looked at Kitsune with parental eyes, not with his Hokage's eyes, and noticed that the ANBU is small and short. However, he had certain similarities to Kushina. The build and grace belongs to Kushina, while his face and head is covered. The Sannin motioned to Kitsune to remove his mask, and which he did and placed on his belt. The elder Hokage and the boy heard a sharp intake of breath and they turned to Minato. It seems that Minato noticed the blonde color hair and blue eyes that Naruto had is the same shade as his. The shape of his jawline and face is the same as his, and the rest was Kushina's. This is his son. His son is now ANBU. At 12 years old. His son is the infamous Kitsune. However, there was something wrong with the picture. His son wasn't smiling. He was standing there straight with no emotions at all. He was standing there like he was a seasoned soldier, not like a happy genin. Looking at his eyes, he could see that there were no emotions in there, and he is determined to make his son have some sort of a childhood before he becomes an adult. He found out that Naruto has no social interaction with kids of his age and has no close friends. He has been training as a ninja since he was young and has not been allowed to interact with others. Kitsune, are you aware of your full name? I know that it is Naruto but not my last name. Answered the now named Naruto. I am going to tell you your last name and you can tell me what you think. Said Minato. Your name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Why do I have the same clan name as the Yondaime, Hokage-sama? I was told I was an orphan. A coolest Naruto to the Sandaime. You are not an orphan. You are the son of the Yondaime. His name is Namikaze Minato. Said the Sandaime to the young boy. No emotion was seen on Naruto's face. He was trained to not show any emotions at all. When a sudden pain affected Naruto, he grasped his stomach and found that red chakra was circulating around his midriff. He turned to the two Hokages in pain. Minato reached him first and lifted up his top half of his uniform and had a look at the seal and found that there wasn't a big problem. Just at a sudden influx of red chakra about to be filter and absorb into Naruto's reserves. There has been slight modification with some extra reinforcement seals on the main seal. It seems that to be Jiraiya's work as the extra seals seems very new. He smiled at that. He found out that Jiraiya was also tricked in thinking that Naruto was dead and only recently discovered that he was alive. No one tried to disturb the two Hokages as the Sandaime ordered no one to interrupt them. The three stay at the office for a few hours longer when it was getting late and the two Hokages decides to get some rest before they tidy up everything in the morning. The Sandaime threw some keys at Minato and told him to change his appearance for now until they have informed the village of his return. So that way, he can spend some time with Naruto Kitsune. He didn't go until Minato pulled him with him and transformed himself into a brown-haired and green-eyed tall man with an ANBU following him. If anyone asked, Kitsune has informed them that he is escorting the gentleman to his home by the Sandaime. Namika's residence. Arriving at the family home that he was going to share with Kushina and Naruto 12 years ago, Minato had a sense of nostalgia. He looked at the house and sighed for a moment until he remembers that Naruto is behind him and he pulled him with him through the front door. Removing their sandals at the front door. The tall man turned to the boy and said, "You can remove the mask now." "Hi, Yondaime-sama. Naruto, you can call me Minato if you can't call me Otu-sen yet." "Hi, Minato-sama." Removing his mask from his face, Naruto hooked it on his belt and followed Minato into the back of the house. They have reached the kitchen and there were layers of dust everywhere. The first thing that they need to do is clean up the house and then checks if there is any food in the house. Minato summoned a few cage bushins to clean the first floor when he asked Naruto how many cage bushins can he summon in one go. "How many do you need, Minato-sama?" asked Naruto without any emotions. "How about 10 cage bushins? That shouldn't strain your reserves." Minato asked, forgetting that his son is an ANBU agent. However, I am able to summon much more cage bushins with my reserves as I constantly training with them a lot," replied Naruto. "What? You can? How many can you summon in one training period? About 150. The amount goes up each day. He then summoned 10 cage bushins with a lack of hand seals. Then, he told them to help the other Minato bushins to clean up the house. He looked around as expected as ANBU would do. When Minato foraged around in the kitchen and found that there is not much food in the house. About to ask whether to go out and find some food, there was a knock on one of the outer windows. Minato transformed back to his other identity and had a look and found Jiraiya with takeout food in 2 bags and some sake. He had heard the news about Minato and that he is with his son, Naruto. He came to investigate with gifts. Minato let him in as he knew that he has no part in the awful treatment of his son. He was also tricked in believing that he had died 12 years ago. So, he had no reason to stay in Konoha. The same reason for Tsunade as well. Walking to the kitchen, the 2 men observed that Naruto has taken a seat at the table and looking at a postcard that was pinned on the refrigerator. It was a good 20 meters away. Naruto must have very good eyesight to see small print that far. Sensing the 2 men, he stood and said Jiraiya-sama, Minato-sama. When Naruto said Minato-sama, Jiraiya's eyebrow went up. Minato glared at his former sensei and made a cutting movement with his hand. All 3 sat down to eat the food that Jiraiya brought and then Naruto excused himself when he finished and asked where he is to sleep for the night as he was told by the Sandaime that he is staying with Minato. Then to report in the morning at noon with Minato. Minato told him, the room on the left when you go up the stairs and the bathroom is next door. His room is opposite and his office is at the end of the hall. Good night, Jiraiya-sama and Minato-sama. Said Naruto and left the room. Minato, what with all the formality? Does Naruto know he is your son? Asked Jiraiya after he placed a strong privacy justu in the room so that Naruto or anyone cannot hear what they are talking about. Hi, he does, but he has not shown any emotions about it at all. He is too well trained by the council. He has become a social outcast. I was told he has no friends his age. Said Minato. Getting angry with the council, especially the ones who blackmailed the Sandaime. He should have been a happy boy with lots of friends his age and having the time of his life. But he is this antisocial boy who is an ANBU. ANBU, for crying out loud, I changed the academy so that all prospective genins are at least 12 before they seen action. But my own son has seen so much and he is the same age. God damn it. I didn't know about Naruto, otherwise I could have looked after him. Damn sensei and the council. I wonder what they also hidden from sensei and us. I am going to find out. Exclaimed Jiraiya. Chapter 9. Finding Tsunade. Their mission is to hunt down the injured Orochimaru. Kitsune and his team pursues Orochimaru and Kabuto across the border to the village of Sound. Before reaching there, they caught up to the Sound ninjas and then a battle broke out between the ANBU and the Sound ninjas. Acting as a diversion, Orochimaru's Sound force stepped in to stop the 3 of the 4 pursuers, while Orochimaru fled with Kabuto with Kitsune in pursuit. The 3 ANBU agents indicated to Kitsune to go on as they will distract the 4 Sound ninjas. Finally reaching his hideout, Orochimaru almost fled into the underground tunnel but was stopped by Kitsune close to the entrance. Kabuto took out a kunai to defend Orochimaru but was quickly immobilized with ease. Facing only Orochimaru now, Kitsune fought Orochimaru on equal footing until Kabuto immobilized Kitsune's legs with his chakra scalpels. Orochimaru then thrust his Kusanagi sword through Kitsune's upper chest. About to finish the job, the 2 Sound ninjas saw this opportunity to escape. Orochimaru and Kabuto fled away from the base and ran off in the distance. Kitsune then tried to follow them, but his wound was too severe and bloody. He released a signal flare into the air and then collapsed due to the blood loss and fell to the ground unconscious. His teammates were still battling the Sound 4 when they received a signal to retreat. The rest of the ANBU squad tried to pursue them when they noticed that the captain is missing. They needed to find him and to regroup, whether to pursue Orochimaru as instructed by the council. It seems that they were instructed by the council members without the authority of the Hokage to pursue Orochimaru and his ninjas. Elsewhere. Tsunade and Shizune, a young dark-haired woman, was hugging a pig who was wearing a red sleeveless coat and a pearl necklace. The pig was called Tuntun. She was a very smart pig. They was walking to the next town to avoid Tsunade's debt collectors. When Tsunade notices and smelt fresh blood, she looked around to find a prone figure lying on the floor. Seeing it was an ANBU from Konoha, she ran up to the body to see whether he was dead, but she see that the ANBU agent was still breathing, but slowly because of the blood loss. She quickly took up her healing chakra to treat the wound, finally closing it. She then noticed the small physique of the ANBU and made her comment known. Tsunade-sama, what is an ANBU agent from Konoha doing here? Asked Shizune. Don't know, Shizune, but let heal him and take him to the next town to rest, explained Tsunade to her apprentice. She looked at her and Shizune sighs. Yes, Tsunade-sama. Shizune drops Tuntun on the floor gently and bends over to pick up the Kitsune mask ANBU. Shizune carried the body when the porcelain mask started to fall off, when suddenly a hand started to move, grabbing the mask and fixing it back onto his face, before slowly losing consciousness again. In a local inn, next day. Slowly waking up, finding that he was in a bed resting and bandaged to where Orochimaru struck him and finding Shizune sleeping on the chair next to a sleeping pig, he quickly unwrapped the bandages and disappears. As Shizune starts to wake up, she noticed the bed was empty and the window opened, with the bandages that was used on the floor. Kitsune wanders around the town to find out where he is, and he found out where he is, so he pulled out an empty scroll and decides send out a message through an eagle summon that he has. The small eagle that he summons was called Falco. He handed him the sealed scroll and the mission to find the rest of his team. The bird flew off and headed off to Konoha. Konoha, ANBU headquarters. The rest of Kitsune's team anxiously awaited their captain's return when a bird summon flew overhead and it dropped a message scroll into Inu's hand. It reveals their captain's whereabouts. They inform the Sannin of the situation. Hokage Tower. The Sannin Hokage was hard at work, doing the bane of all Kage's paperwork. He was furious that the council has assigned another mission for Team Kitsune without his knowledge. The squad has returned without Kitsune the day before. They were ordered to return when they were ever separated. Noticing a flare of chakra, the Sannin noticed the appearance of the rest of Team Kitsune in his office. He looked up when Inu informed him of Kitsune's whereabouts and that they headed out. Suddenly the door banged open and in came Minato, wanting news of his son's whereabouts, as he is not allowed to leave Konoha at the moment. He wasn't aware of his son's mission from the council. He knew he have left but didn't know where. Where is he? He is not in Konoha at the moment. He is on a mission. Where? What rank is it? Asked Minato. About to speak, when a knock came on the door, the yondaime hinges into a brown-haired Jonin standing in front of the Hokage. The door opened to reveal a tall silver-haired Jonin with a cloth mask across his face and his headband over his left eye. He has come in to report the completion of a C-ranked mission. He notices a familiar chakra signature, but didn't know who. He glanced at the Sannin and the person when the ANBU team indicated that they were leaving for their mission. Leaving the three men in the office. Kakashi was clueless about the unfamiliar man stood next to him. But the strange man and the Sannin glanced at each other for a few moments. Then, the Sannin nodded his head as allowing Minato to reveal himself to Kakashi as he deserves the truth. Kakashi, the genius, knew instantly that the strange man in front of him is his former and beloved mentor. He recognized his chakra signature instantly. Minato dropped his transformation and Kakashi gasped in extreme shock to see his sensei alive and kicking and barely aged. He is now officially older than his previously dead sensei. Are you supposedly dead? I must be seeing things right, Hokage-sama? Asked a rarely scared Kakashi. No, Kakashi, he is the real thing. He is alive. Yes, Kakashi, I am alive at the moment until I have completed what I need to do, replied Minato. What, sensei? To find my son and help him to create peace to the shinobi world. Sensei, you don't have a son. He died 12 years ago when you sealed the Kyuubi. The Sannin put his hand to silent Kakashi. Unfortunately that's not true. His son, Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, is very much alive and is a strong shinobi. He has for the last 12 years been hidden from everyone. You just don't notice him around the village. What does he look like? I may have seen him around. No, you may not have. He wears a mask at all times. A mask? He is not an ANBU agent, is he? The two older men nodded in response. Kakashi mulled over this for a few seconds. An ANBU agent who is 12 years old. He isn't going to be very big in physique. Realizing that only one ANBU agent fits that description. No, you don't mean Kitsune, the infamous ANBU. Kakashi deduced. The older men nodded in response again. Wow. A 12-year-old. Wait, he has beaten Uchiha Itachi's record as the youngest ANBU captain. The Sannin then coughs discreetly. Kakashi, this is SS rank secret until we chose to reveal the secrets to the general populace. You must not tell anyone what you heard today until we allow you to. Yes, Hokage-sama and Minato-sensei. He turned and left the office, thinking of what he has heard. The two Hokages went back to discussing where Naruto could be when another knock on the door. Minato transformed again to his brown-haired Jonin persona and waited for the business to be completed. Elsewhere, at the same time. Tsunade was at a high-risk gambling den. Going on with her gambling obsession when Shizune burst in from the front door. She revealed to Tsunade that the ANBU agent that they saved has left the inn when a male hand suddenly touched her on the shoulder. Leaping out in fury, she was about to punch the person that the hand was connected to, and it was revealed that the person to be Jiraiya. Her former teammate that she haven't seen since 12 years ago when all the members of the Namikaze family died. She left due to grief. She has lost her dear brother, Nawaki, her fiancé, Dan, and the 3 members of the Namikaze family. She was friends with Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina and was godmother to Naruto. She was told that he had died a tragic death at such a young life. Returning to the present, she turned to her former teammate Jiraiya and asked him what he wanted with her. Jiraiya lifted both of his hands in placating gestures and signaled her to sit down again. "Yo, Tsunade, how you doing?" Jiraiya asked his former teammate. "How do you think I'm doing?" Tsunade said sarcastically. "Tsunade-sama, what about that ANBU agent?" fretted a worried Shizune. Holding onto a squirming Tun-Tun in her arms. She was looking at her teacher for further instructions. Listening into the conversation, Jiraiya was made aware that the two women have saved an ANBU agent and that he have left them at the local inn. "What ANBU agent? What do you mean he left? Who are you talking about?" asked Jiraiya to Shizune. "Tsunade rescued a small ANBU agent with a mask of a fox. He was injured and was unconscious when we got there." Jiraiya-sama, Shizune replied politely. "Ana Naruto, is he here?" Jiraiya hurriedly asked the two women. He got off his seat and about to turn around to leave. "Who?" Tsunade questioned him and received no answer. "Where is he? Is he still here?" asked Jiraiya. Facing Shizune and ignoring Tsunade. "No, he quickly left as I woke up," said Shizune. "Jiraiya, why are you fretting over that ANBU agent? He is an ordinary ANBU agent without his squad. He is just another shinobi working for Konoha," Tsunade exclaimed. She flicked some chips onto the table and waited for her cards. "I tell you later, where did he go?" Jiraiya, who was becoming impatient, decided to ask her where Naruto was. "I don't know." "Okay," Tsunade replied, and Shizune shook her head in a negative way. He quickly left the gambling den and he quickly summoned his toads outside to search for Naruto across town. He needs to find him as he needed him to persuade Tsunade to return to Konoha. He told them to span out and find Naruto as soon as possible. When they find him, to meet up at the edge of town. The other side of town, same time. Kitsune was waiting for a reply from his team as he was still a bit weak when a small yellow toad with a blue jacket show up asking him for candy. Kitsune raises a blonde eyebrow when another small toad, a red one, turned up and he was saying loudly to the small yellow toad. "Amaterasu, stop fooling around, oi oi, you with the mask, someone looking for you," said the small red toad to Kitsune. "Who will that be?" Kitsune answered politely to the small toad. "The toad Sannin, okay," answered the red toad. "Where would he be, small frog?" Kitsune asked him. "Are you calling small, he at the edge of town, Uchibi. The name is Gamakichi and that is my younger brother, Gamatatsu." Puffing out his chest and pointed at his brother. "Aniki, where is my candy that you promised me?" asked the now named Gamatatsu, demanded from his brother. Kitsune raised both of his blonde eyebrows behind his mask as he wasn't carrying any candy but a few ration bars in his weapons pouch. He pulled out one and gave it to Gamatatsu. Then he left with a burst of smoke. At the end of town, a few minutes later. Jiraiya waited patiently until a puff of smoke to reveal Kitsune bowing in respect of the Sannin before lifting up his head. "Okay. Stop with the formalities, would you, and what are you doing here? Naruto, are you on mission here?" asked Jiraiya, a serious tone in his voice. A sweat dropped on Naruto's head before answering. "Yes, I was ordered by the council to hunt down Orochimaru," answered truthfully to the toad Sannin. Kitsune maintained eye contact with the tall man. Jiraiya moved first. "What? Orochimaru? Is he here in this town?" exclaimed Jiraiya. He was worried that Naruto has chew off more than he can handle. "Yes, I and my team pursue him to the border where a battle took place, but unfortunately I was separated from them and was wounded and let him escape," said a panting Naruto. He was holding on his wound site. It was still throbbing as he hasn't healed yet. Jiraiya then noticed the wound on his godson's chest. It was slowly healing and was thinking. The Kyuubi should have healed him in no time. What is going on with the seal? Jiraiya paused for a moment, not forgetting about Naruto's mission, he realized. "Naruto, what about Orochimaru, why he is here?" "I believe that my mission was to bring him in for crimes against Konoha, like the attempted assassination of the Sandaime Hokage, but he failed fortunately because the Sandaime Hokage managed to wound him severely. I believe Orochimaru is seeking medical help from the greatest medical ninja, and I've been sent to hunt him down before Orochimaru reaches her," replied Naruto. Kitsune staunchly standing there. Jiraiya paused for a moment, not forgetting Tsunade, he realized the truth. After Tsunade, Naruto, stay here. About to run off towards town. Naruto however grabbed his robes and replied, "I am coming with you. I can help you. I can still fight." About to reply negatively, Jiraiya paused for a moment and then he allows him to come with him to find Tsunade first. Both male ran off to the gambling den that Tsunade was playing in and before they arrived there. Tsunade, Shizune and Tun-Tun have left the place in search of some sake at the local bar, unaware that Jiraiya and Kitsune were coming to find her. They arrived at the bar and she was about to order her sake when she felt the presence of a familiar summoned creature. The black snake was looking at her and indicating to her to follow him to a deserted alleyway. Alleyway. There stood a person that she never wanted to see again in her life, as she knew that he was a missing ninja and was one of her former teammate. "Hello Tsunade. How are you been?" "Orochimaru. What are you doing here? What do you want with me?" asked Tsunade sarcastically. "I need you to heal my hands." "And what do you plan to do when I do heal them?" "Oh nothing, think I try to destroy Konoha again." Tsunade, shocked with horror, unable to comprehend what he had told her as she has not heard anything about an invasion. "Wait Orochimaru, did you say invade Konoha? I would have succeeded the first time if it wasn't for Sannin stopping me. Why should I heal you Orochimaru? I can bring back the ones you lost, if you heal me, I can bring them back to life." Tsunade stunned and wanting to see her beloved little brother and lover once again, she longed to hold them in her arms again. "I can bring them back, so what is your answer?" Tsunade smirked Orochimaru, looking at his former female teammate. Wanting to see her beloved little brother and lover once again, Tsunade decided to stay silent while she thought about it. "I give you 3 days." Tsunade seeing the indecisive emotion on her face. He then walked away leaving her alone. She turned away with Shizune waiting at the end of the alleyway, hugging Tun. They were returning back to the gambling den as they catered both of her bad habits. Gambling and sake. Gambling den. Tsunade flicked some chips onto the table and waited for her cards, thinking about Orochimaru's offer. Unbeknownst to her, she had won the previous hands that she was playing. Shizune gathered all of her winnings to her side but didn't comment as she knew Tsunade is torn between two paths. Dealing his hands and Konoha get destroyed, losing her grandfather's legacy. Don't heal his hands and she doesn't get her late brother and fiancé back. She was mulling over this when a tall male figure comes barreling into the den to find her. He stops when he saw her at the table. Jiraiya was glad that she was okay and he looked around Kitsune. He was walking leisurely and sat down on a seat near them. Shizune, seeing Kitsune again, approached him and asked him politely. "Are you alright? You suddenly left this morning before I had a chance to check on your wounds." Kitsune responds. "I am fine. Thank you very much. Jiraiya-sama, what are your orders?" Jiraiya says, "Quit it. That is enough of the polite stuff." "Okay. I cannot as you are my superior." Tsunade finally notices their exchange and looks at her two male companions. "What? Are you a by-the-book type of ninja? What do you mean?" Tsunade started to feel annoyed with his attitude. He seems to radiate no kind of feelings at all. He just stood there looking at them, with his ANBU mask still fixed on. Jiraiya sighed as he knew Naruto was incapable of having a simple conversation. He needs to be the child that he wanted him to be if his sensei didn't lie to him after all this time. Tsunade, still annoyed, tried to take his mask off because it was annoying and she wanted to see the pipsqueak's face for once. He countered it and pushes her hand away and walked away. Jiraiya shouted, "Wait, Kitsune, come back here." He ran after Kitsune before stopping. "Tsunade, I still need to talk to you. But I have to find Kitsune first, otherwise I cannot find him again." And runs out, leaving Tsunade and Shizune behind. Day 1. Having looked everywhere in town, Jiraiya was having no luck in locating Kitsune as he was well hidden, just like his reputation spoke of. He has hidden inside on the edge of town awaiting the arrival of his squad so that they could continue tracking and assassination of Orochimaru. Jiraiya knew Minato will kill him if he knew what Naruto was doing and that he didn't stop him. Oh crap. Minato. I need to tell Tsunade about him as well. Why am I stuck with this horrible task? I am not going to survive this after she finds out. Tsunade suddenly sneezed out of the blue. Who is talking about me? Better not be that pervert. And she was enjoying her sake while she ponders on Orochimaru's proposal and the pipsqueak that defy her. Hours later. Jiraiya again sighed as he spent so much of his research time looking for his errant godson. He decided to go to the local bathhouse for some friendly research for his novels. Later in the day, he went to a brothel where he was surrounded with many young beautiful women and sake. Much later. Totally drunk, he left the brothel with a stagger to the local inn when a feeling of deja vu crosses his mind and he shivered. Oh god, what was I doing again? Forgetting he was supposedly to talk to Tsunade and find Kitsune. He went off to sleep off his hangover. Day 2. Feeling still angered and furious of Kitsune's behavior, Tsunade went to the local gambling den to play cards, knowing that Orochimaru wanted her answer the day after tomorrow. She couldn't concentrate very well, so she threw her cards and left. She decided to take a walk around the edge of town when she noticed Kitsune sitting on a boulder glancing at the sky. She looked on from the distance as Kitsune walks towards a waterfall, taking off his mask, top and ANBU cloak onto the ground to wash off the scent of blood on him. While under the waterfall, Kitsune glanced and grasped the necklace around his neck, wondering why he cared for this necklace so much. Tsunade looked on, suppressing her chakra signature as Kitsune washed himself. She could see the various scars on Kitsune's body. She started to fret why a little boy should have so many scars. As a superior medical ninja, she could tell that Kitsune was a young boy as his physique is still small. Breaking off that thought, she noticed that Kitsune was holding something very dear to him. She started to feel sorry for the little boy and then walked back to town. Kitsune never noticed her presence at all as he carried on with ablutions under the waterfall. Meanwhile Jiraiya is still asleep in his room. Shizune was tending to Tuntun and then she left to find Tsunade in town, expecting her either at the sake bar or the gambling den. They were still running away from Tsunade's debt collectors. Now, more problems arise. She sighs and tries to find her master. At night, Tsunade was sitting on the top of the gate, pondering a few things. She couldn't decide what to do when an image of Kitsune's scarred body came into her mind. She knew that there was something there and couldn't grasp it. She was still mad with Jiraiya as he still hasn't showed up to speak her. Where the hell is he? Jiraiya sneezed in his sleep and woke up and found it to be late evening. His head was killing him and he was feeling sick. He looked around and out the window to see it was night time. Too late to go do his research, so he sighed and then he went back to sleep. He's still forgotten to go and speak to Tsunade. Tsunade's still pondering about the enigma of Kitsune. What is a child doing in ANBU? Sensei must be going senile. She found a good position against the railing and sat all night. Day 3. Relatively early in the morning, Tsunade went to look for the elusive Kitsune. As he did not come back in yet, she went to the edge of town to see him resting atop on a tree branch sleeping. She smiled as she looked at Kitsune slumped on the branch peacefully. She approaches the tree that he was sleeping in and was about to speak when a drowsy voice asked her a question. What are doing you here? I came to find you. Why? Are you in need of assistance? No, but I want to ask you a few questions. What do you need to know? First of all, what is your name? Who are you? It is necessary to introduce yourself before asking for someone else's name. I am Senju Tsunade. Oh. You are one of the 3 legendary Sannin, alongside Jiraiya-sama and Orochimaru. Having forgotten about Orochimaru's proposal, guilty feelings could be seen on her face as she looked at Kitsune. He knew that she was hiding something and that Orochimaru is looking for her to heal him. He fitted the pieces together and knew Orochimaru is nearby. He got up and started to run off. Tsunade shouted. Wait. You didn't tell me your name. It is Kitsune. ANBU captain of Konoha. And ran off towards the town, leaving her alone. Afternoon. She walked back into town and bumps into a worried Shizune with a squirming Tuntun in her arms. Tsunade-sama, where have you been? You didn't come back to the room all night. I was worried about you. Shizune, I am a big girl. I can look after myself. But what about Orochimaru's proposal? You have to decide what you're going to do tomorrow. A male voice churned in from behind. What proposal? What does Orochimaru has to do with it? Shizune realized that Jiraiya was behind them and they didn't notice his presence until he spoke. Ah. Jiraiya-sama. I didn't see you there. Said a worried Shizune, looking at a silent Tsunade. I am asking you what Orochimaru wants from you. Asked Jiraiya, looking at his former teammate. Nothing, denied Tsunade. You're lying. Tsunade, you cannot lie. Especially to me. We have been teammates for so long. We are known as the legendary Sannins. Said Jiraiya. Not about to budge when on the corner of her left eye, she saw Kitsune in the distance, jumping off a high roof. She could tell that he was in a rush. I want to know something from you before I tell you anything. Okay. Bargained Tsunade. What do you want to know? Asked Jiraiya. Let's speak in Shizune in my room. Said Tsunade, walking off to the inn. In Shizune and Tsunade's room. All seated, the 2 Sannins and Shizune was about to talk when a waddling Tuntun walked up to Shizune, waiting to be picked up as she didn't want to be left out. What do you want to know? Asked Jiraiya to Tsunade. Who is that ANBU kid? How is he in ANBU? That kid a little too young to be in ANBU. Slow down Tsunade, I thought the same too. What do you mean? Don't you know him? Not really, I only met him a few times. I only know his codename, said Jiraiya. Okay, what is his name? Kitsune. The legendary Kitsune of Konoha, said Jiraiya with a straight face as he didn't want to tell her the truth but knew he had to do the right thing. He needs to protect him as his position as the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is not known in Konoha. Only a handful knew, including him. What? That pipsqueak is the legendary Kitsune. I don't believe you. Said a disbelieving Tsunade. It is true and I found out other things too about him. What is it? Tell me. Tell me everything. Asked an eager Tsunade. First of all, his real name is. Chapter 10. The legendary Sannin battle. The morning following the 3 days offer from Orochimaru, Tsunade left her room to meet with Orochimaru and Kabuto, the minion that stood behind Orochimaru when they last spoke. They met by the famous landmark of the town, where they agreed to meet. Orochimaru and Tsunade. Meeting her former teammate, Tsunade slowly walked towards him with a small smile on her face. She approached him and then, she stopped within a few feet of him and looked at him. "Hello Tsunade. Have you decided?" asked a creepily smiling Orochimaru. "Yes I have." "What is it?" "You can see your loved ones again and I can destroy Konoha or we both lose." Orochimaru. "My answer is." Flashback, evening. After Jiraiya told her, she was feeling torn about her decision, so she decided to go for a drink. They left the room. Tsunade and Jiraiya were enjoying some sake at a stall, where Jiraiya started to discuss what Orochimaru had said with Tsunade. He comments that if Tsunade betrays Konoha, he would not forgive her. Tsunade denied any allegations. He tells her that he would kill her himself if she did. As they both drank sake, Tsunade slipped in some powder into Jiraiya's drink unbeknownst to him. A couple of hours later, he collapsed on the counter fast asleep. She left him at the sake stall and went back to her room to stop Shizune interfering by rendering her unconscious. She left the room and ponders on what Jiraiya told her. First of all, his real name is Naruto. He is 12 years old and is now an ANBU. He works directly for Sensei and is currently on a mission. But, I cannot tell you what the mission is as it is classified. Not telling her the full truth as he couldn't interfere. Replied Jiraiya. "What is he doing here?" questioned Tsunade. "I don't know," lied Jiraiya. End of flashback. My answer is no. Orochimaru. A chakra-infused fist came towards Orochimaru's face, but missed as Kabuto was there to defend him. A stunned Orochimaru looked at Tsunade and said. "You made your choice Tsunade." "Yes, things that happened in the past should just stay there," said a fuming Tsunade. Getting into a battle stance, Tsunade stood there for a few moments when blurs could only be seen as the battle commenced and walls began to fall down around them. Lifting a fist, she punched the ground and cracks appeared, then chunks of rock hit Kabuto and Orochimaru. They fled away from the scene and luring her to follow them. Few minutes later. Reaching a large green field that had nothing in it except a few boulders and mud patches on the ground. The two Sannin looked at each other, then punches and kicks starting to fly, and they tried to hit each other. But they missed their targets. Craters started to appear all over the green field as more blurs was seen. It was a high-speed battle between high-level ninjas. Jiraiya and Shizune, at the same time. Both person awoke into stiff posture, they both shot up as they remember the last thing they saw was Tsunade. They both got up and left to find Tsunade when Jiraiya bumps into an incoming Shizune from the inn. "Jiraiya-sama, have you seen Tsunade-sama? I cannot find her." "She's gone," asked a worried Tsunade. "I know what she is doing. But I hope she had made the right choice," explained Jiraiya. "I hope so too." Glancing at Jiraiya. She was holding a squirming pig in her arms. The little pig was also worried about her mistress. She squealed worryingly. Jiraiya tried to gather his chakra but couldn't control it and tried to use a summon jutsu. Out came Gamakichi, a small red toad with a blue vest. "Aheyo, Toad Sannin. What do you want?" said the small red toad. Jiraiya gasped. "It's not you I want. I want a tracking toad," claimed Jiraiya. "Boy. Don't make fun of me. I am just as good as them. I may be small, but I can make in skills," said Gamakichi in anger. "Okay then, go and locate Tsunade for me," asked Jiraiya. "Who?" questioned a confused Gamakichi. Jiraiya palmed his face in horror. "Tsunade is my former teammate and she is currently missing. We need to find her," said Jiraiya. "Fine. What does she look like?" asked Gamakichi. "She is young looking with two blonde pigtails with a very big chest," said Jiraiya drooling with the image of Tsunade. Shizune, upon hearing this, slaps Jiraiya and tells him. "Jiraiya-sama, control yourself. Don't talk about Tsunade-sama like that," said Shizune. "I just was complimenting her," smiled Jiraiya. Gamakichi, annoyed that the two adults ignored him and shouted. Let's get back to the main issue. You want me to find this Tsunade woman?" said the small toad with a tick on his forehead. "Yes, I do," said Jiraiya. Fine and left. With nothing to do, the two adults waited for news. Kitsune. Having spent so much time trying to track Orochimaru around the town. He finally found a lead as he tracked Orochimaru's chakra signature in a nearby cave. He enters the cave and found the presence of a fire being previously lit there. He looked around to see if there were any more leads. Not finding anything, he left the cave and found himself looking the town. It was in his line of sight. Fitting the pieces together, he deduces that an injured Orochimaru requires Tsunade to heal his hands. So he would have to look for Tsunade. He left quickly towards the town to locate Tsunade. Quickly and silently, he summoned a tracking type of bird to locate Tsunade and let it go. He ran back into town and walking down the streets in the shadows when he came upon a slumped Jiraiya and a worried-looking Shizune outside the inn. Then with a poof of smoke, a small toad appears in front of Jiraiya. "Boy, Toad Sannin, I have found the lady that you wanted me to find," replied a cheeky small red toad. "Thank you very much. I can take you there," said a proud Gamakichi. "Wait, Kitsune, come over here," Jiraiya said out of the blue. Having detected Kitsune's chakra signature, Jiraiya spoke out and then the young ANBU appeared out of nowhere in front of him. He was still wearing his ANBU uniform and cloak with his katana on his back. "Jiraiya-sama. How I may be assistance?" said a polite Kitsune. "I need to track Tsunade. She might be in trouble." "Yes, sir. I am currently tracking her and am now awaiting information," Kitsune replied stoically. Then a screech was heard. A bird flew overhead and Kitsune lifted his right arm and the bird flew down. "We have found Tsunade. She is currently fighting Orochimaru at the green field at the very edge of this town," said Kitsune. "Boy, pervert. I told you, I have found her. I could have told you," said an angered Gamakichi. "Okay, it seems that our two trackers have found her. Let's go," the elder of the three indicated to the others. The bird flew ahead with Gamakichi on its back. All three started to run with the bird towed overhead to the proposed destination. Orochimaru and Tsunade. Still locked in combat, Tsunade and Orochimaru were fighting a fierce battle with constant interruptions from Kabuto. She was punching him when Kabuto interrupted with a kunai coming in for the kill when she flipped over him and slammed him on the floor. She turned towards Kabuto and started to pummel him with numerous punches. Kabuto avoided some of the hard punches and retaliated with his own and pushed her back a few feet. Orochimaru was trying to help but without his hands, he was limited, so he used his long tongue to grab her and slammed her on the floor. She got back up and glared at the two men. She wiped the blood from her mouth and looked at them. Then with a blur, she ran up to Kabuto and somehow caught him in the face and he was thrown back to a boulder. Smirking a bit, Kabuto got back up and flew towards her with chakra scalpels and tried to slice her but missed. She countered it by messing up his nervous systems. He couldn't move any of his four limbs correctly as he tried to get back up. "What did you do to me?" asked a confused Kabuto to Tsunade. "I sent some chakra into your chakra network and interrupted the chakra impulses to your brain. You are getting mixed messages to whichever limb you are trying to move," said an experienced Tsunade. "Gee. This is annoying," said an annoyed Kabuto. "You cannot fight anymore. I wouldn't kill you yet. You know. You should kill me now or I will kill you when I get back my control of my limbs," said Kabuto to Tsunade. "As if you can," she replied and turned away from him. Turning towards Orochimaru, she starts to run to him when a bundle of snakes came towards her. She dodged them and rammed a fist into his right cheek. He spat out some blood and tried to hit her. Again, she dodges his hit with a hard kick to the chest. He bounced back in pain when he threw some kunai with exploding tags at her, using the snakes to do what he couldn't. Keeping an eye out on Kabuto, she noticed that he was figuring out very quickly where his limbs were working. He was testing his limbs to get them working normally. But she was engaging Orochimaru at the moment. "Damn, his knowledge of medical ninjutsu can rival my old when I was in my prime," exclaimed an amazed Tsunade. She was looking at the younger ninja with amazement. "Tsunade, where are you looking? You are supposed to be fighting me." "Grrr. Orochimaru, you are going to die today. You traitor. I will make sure of that," said Tsunade. About to punch him hard in the face when she stopped for a second as she panted. She was tiring as she fought the two men for a while. She was running low on chakra. She knew she was in trouble. It was in that second that she was placed in a Jinjutsu. Orochimaru has casted a Jinjutsu at her and she didn't realize it until it was too late. Inside the Jinjutsu. She opened her eyes and in the distance she could see some eerie figures. They were walking towards her until they were a few feet from her. She gasped when she recognized all the figures. They were her late brother Nawaki, her late fiancé, Dan and the three late members of the Namikaze family. Minato, Kushina and baby Naruto. "Tsunade, you forsake us. You left us. You have forgotten about us," said all five figures. "No, I didn't. I still think about you all the time. I haven't forgotten about you," replied a sad Tsunade. She was crying as tears fell from her brown eyes. She started to shiver and started to hug her hands around herself. "I am sorry. I am sorry that I wasn't there," replied a still sad Tsunade. Minato then said. "You could have saved Naruto." And a baby started to cry and cry when Kushina comforted him and then she looked up at her. "Tsunade, I thought you were my friend. I made you into my son's godmother. You were supposed to look after him when we died," said an unhappy Kushina. Tsunade was choked up with tears and grief. Outside. "Kukyu. That was easy. Tsunade. The great Tsunade falls in such a disgraceful way. Oh well. Sayonara, Tsunade," Orochimaru commented chuckling. And then he summons his Kusanagi sword to pierce her in the heart. He started to run towards her with his sword extended towards her ample chest. About a mere inch from her chest, he was blocked by a katana, who knocked his sword away. Orochimaru bounced back a few feet and saw the three new arrivals. One was carrying a pig, a mask-wearing ANBU with a katana and his former teammate, Jiraiya. They came in time to save Tsunade from death. She was still trapped in the Jinjutsu that Orochimaru has casted on her. Orochimaru looked at the three new arrivals. He sees Kitsune, standing there with Jiraiya and a fretting Shizune. She was holding a pig in her arms. She let her go and she ran off towards a boulder and hid behind it. Shizune got into a battle stance when she saw a bleeding Tsunade. She was sitting on the ground but was panting. She looked dazed as if she was trapped in a Jinjutsu. Shizune started to run towards her master while keeping an eye on the others. Orochimaru started to glare at the interruptions. "What the hell? You suppose be dead. How can you be alive?" shouted Orochimaru. "I was lucky. I was saved by Tsunade-sama the same day you injured me," he said, looking around him. He saw Shizune dispel the Jinjutsu that Tsunade was under and started to heal the injured and tired Tsunade. She gave her a soldier pill and started to heal her wounds. Jiraiya and Kitsune was still standing there looking at Orochimaru and Kabuto, who was walking normally towards his master. He was holding a curved kunai in his hand. "Ah, Jiraiya, you are here as well. You are going to interfere with our battle," said the snake Sannin. "Damn right. I am not letting you hurt Tsunade. Orochimaru, you are going to fall today," says the idiot of the team. "That is wishful thinking. You can try and come and kill me. I will even give you a shot of my face," replied a smirking Orochimaru. "Grrr. Orochimaru. You will fall," exclaimed Jiraiya. Jiraiya placed his palm onto the ground and tried to summon his toads, but the result was another small toad. This time it was yellow toad with a blue vest. He was smaller than the first toad that he summoned earlier on. "Heyo, please give me some candy," the small yellow toad asked cheekily. Jiraiya sweat drops in disappointment. "No. Not you I wanted Gamakin and the others," exclaimed the toad Sannin. Kitsune just stood there watching as this was going on. He raised a blonde eyebrow and waited for further orders. Overhead on the bird's back, Gamakichi spots his brother and indicated to the bird to go down. He jumps down next to Gamatatsu, the smaller yellow frog, and reprimanded him. Oi Gamatatsu, what are you doing here?" asked Gamakichi. "I was summoned by him and I wanted some candy Nai-san," said the now named Gamatatsu. Gamakichi sweat drops. Oi, candy a time like this?" "No," Gamakichi tells his brother. Said an unhappy Gamatatsu. Jiraiya overhearing the brothers' conversation and yells. "Get out of here, you younglings. You are getting in the way here. Either you move it or you dispel yourself," shouted a frustrated Jiraiya. His chakra control was over the entire place. Spying Tuntun was behind a large boulder, they ran towards her, in fears as Orochimaru was chuckling at Jiraiya's antics. "You are still an idiot after all these years. You cannot even summon a decent frog to fight with. Those two pipsqueaks cannot help you," said an arrogant Orochimaru. "Boy, we are not pipsqueaks. We haven't reached our growth spurts yet. Just you wait. We will crush you like a pancake," exclaimed an angered Gamakichi. Gamatatsu was rubbing his head as he didn't understand what was happening. Tuntun was squealing with worry as she could see her mistress out on the floor. "I will show you how it is done." Swiping some blood, he summons a gigantic black snake to face off with Jiraiya and Kitsune. "Kitsune, you stay out this battle. I am fighting Orochimaru. He is my fellow Sannin, he is too high of a level for you to fight," commanded Jiraiya. Kitsune about to reply when Orochimaru laughed. He was telling to Kabuto to attack the now defenseless Tsunade and to kill the others. Kabuto nodded and started to advance towards them. "Jiraiya-sama, I will defend Tsunade with Shizune-sama then. I will leave this battle with you then." "Okay. Protect Tsunade and either kill or capture Kabuto," commanded Jiraiya. He left him there and ran towards the two women. Tsunade, Shizune and Kitsune. Arriving at the women's side, Kitsune got into a battle stance and waited for Kabuto to make his move. Kunace was flying at them from every direction, he batted them away with his katana and tried to stab Kabuto and missed. He got punched in the shoulder when he pushed back 2 feet. He grasped his shoulder for a moment when a flurry of senbons flew towards Kabuto. Shizune was shooting poison-tipped senbons at him, but he has managed to dodge them all. He was advancing towards Tsunade when a katana was swinging near his head and he had to duck to avoid being decapitated. He rolled away and got back up. He pushed his glasses up and then with a blur a clang of metal could be heard. Kitsune and Kabuto were fighting for dominance when he sneakily cut the right muscle on Kitsune's leg. Feeling the pain, Kitsune fell on his left knee and gasped out in pain. "Ah. Grrr." Kitsune grasped his right leg. Shizune tried to help by firing more senbons, but Kabuto dodged them all and came towards her and with a chakra scalpel, he cut her leg muscle. She fell down on the floor in pain. She tried to get back up but failed again. Arrogant in the way he walked, Kabuto walked towards Tsunade with a smirk on his face. He was enjoying the fact that he can get to kill the great Tsunade that can fight on par with his master. Sayonara, Tsunade. Time to die. About to strike the deadly blow, he was intercepted with a porcelain mask ANBU in front of him. His arm guards on his arms blocked the majority of the force, but it still hit his mask. Kitsune's mask cracked. He tried to punch him in retaliation while wincing in pain. Ah. Aha, make a mistake and then I will kill you, said a smirking Kabuto. Kitsune reined in his lapse of controlling of his feelings. Then with a clear mind, he started to recall all of his training and then with no hesitation, he blocked all of Kabuto's shots. And he pushed him back to show him why he is the legendary Kitsune of Konoha. He will not go down like that. Kabuto Yakushi, I will kill you. I will not let you live. Getting in a battle stance, he used his katana and rushed him and managed to score a few hits on him. There were some cuts on his arms, legs and torso. They were bleeding. How did you injure me? Said a confused Kabuto. That is a secret. I cannot tell you, Kabuto Yakushi, a traitor to Konoha. I will eliminate you, replied a cold ANBU. The battle commenced for a few more minutes when they were both panting. They were tiring, but they both resisted each other. Shizune meanwhile was healing herself when she noticed the two battles and found that Kitsune and Jiraiya weren't doing so well. They were tiring and they needed Tsunade. She looked at her master and found her slumped on the ground. She has been silent the whole time, crying in her own world. She limped towards her to wake her up. Shizune tried to get a reaction from her master when Kabuto was suddenly in front of her and punched her out of the way. She got hit. Tsunade-sama, wake up. Wake up. Ah! Shouted Shizune on the ground. She was unconscious. This is it. Sayonara, Tsunade, no one to save you now, replied Kabuto. No, you don't, replied a cold voice. Not you again. You don't go down, do you? Replied an exasperated Kabuto. I have to protect Tsunade-sama. As an ANBU of Konoha, I will fulfill my mission, replied a cold-voiced Kitsune. He was standing up again. Jiraiya and Orochimaru, at the same time. Fighting his former teammate was no fun as they try and outwit each other. Jiraiya tried to fire several jutsus at him, but he dodged. But he managed to dispel the gigantic snake before he could use it to fight him. Oh crap, my chakra is still not back to its original level. Shizune couldn't extract what Tsunade gave me yesterday. What to do? What to do? Thought Jiraiya. He flipped away from the snakes that Orochimaru was using to fight him. Damn, he is seeing through all my moves and I am running low on chakra. Is that all you got? You have always been the idiot of the three of us. You will never beat me, said a smirking Orochimaru. Just shut up, shut up. You are going to fall today. Oh yeah? You and what army? You are at half capacity. I believed Tsunade drugged you to not interfere and she is too grief-stricken to fight, said a conceited Orochimaru. What did you do to her? Jiraiya asked. Nothing much. Just a handy Jinjutsu that harnesses a person's wishes into reality. It tricks the brain in thinking what you wish comes true, explained Orochimaru. You didn't. You did. You are despicable. Prepare to die, said Jiraiya. Then two blurs could be seen as they tried to outdo each other. Tsunade, Shizune and Kitsune. The battle between Kabuto and Kitsune was still on when they struck each other. Kabuto hit his mask again in his shoulder. Kitsune gasped out in pain. He retaliated with a dense wind chakra-infused fist towards his stomach and knocked him into a nearby boulder. Kabuto spat some blood in shock. He tried to push himself out of the rock. Anton, Gamakichi and Gamatatsu. Oh, that is one fierce battle. That masked boy is very good. He managed to block all of those shots and manages to get back up. He is good. No, he is really good, replied an amazed Gamakichi. Even though they got off the wrong foot, the small red toad is impressed with Kitsune's performance. Amaterasu agreed with his brother and Tonton squealed in agreement. They were watching behind a big boulder and saw both battles. Meanwhile, Kabuto used his regeneration skills to regenerate his body and got back up. He faces off with Kitsune again and then punches and kicks flew again. They were in for the kill. This went on for a few more minutes in reality. Finally, Kitsune struck him again and he flew towards Orochimaru and Jiraiya. He was stopped by Orochimaru's snakes. He was in their direct path. He was caught by the snakes in place on the ground. He started to regenerate his body to normal. Orochimaru glared towards Kitsune and summoned his Kusanagi sword and flew towards Kitsune. Jiraiya reacted late and chased after him but was too late as Orochimaru stabbed Kitsune through the stomach. He gasped and spat out blood. You snake Orochimaru. I will not fall like this. And tries to get back up again but fails as his body felt numb from being stabbed. Orochimaru starts to smile evilly. The legendary Kitsune is going fall today. This is the end of you, kid. I don't think so. Orochimaru, this won't stop me, replied a hurt Kitsune as Orochimaru pulled out the blade, Kitsune wincing silently in pain. Orochimaru about to strike again when Jiraiya came in and moved him out of the way and he noticed that his female teammate hasn't moved yet. Shizune and Kitsune are on the ground. They were in trouble. The Budo, after he has healed himself, got back up and approaches Tsunade. He looked around and smirked and held up a chakra scalpel and about to slash downwards when Kitsune was again in front of him. You again? You don't stay down, do you? I saw Orochimaru struck you with his sword, said an annoyed Kabuto. My body moved on its own. I will not let you harm Tsunade-sama, replied an injured Kitsune. I am going make sure you die this time. You will die today, Kitsune. Both rushed each other and they both struck each other in the chest area and Kitsune fell down on the ground. Kabuto has stopped his heart. He turned to Tsunade before falling on the ground dying. Tsunade, seeing the action of the courageous ANBU that saved her life 3 times, now reacted when Kabuto tried to strike her down. She caught hold his hand and twisted and he yelped. You will regret that. You will not hurt him again. She threw him and he hit the same boulder. He fell on the floor. I cannot regenerate my body. I used up all my chakra. I need to get up. Trying to get up, he failed and watched from his spot and made a rude comment. He isn't going to live. He is too wounded to be healed. Ha ha ha. Amber, you be quiet, I am going to heal him. Spying a conscious Shizune, she commanded her to watch over Kabuto. She nodded and stood next to her. Tsunade flipped Kitsune over and placed her head on his chest and heard no heartbeat and losing blood by the second. She gasped and opened his cloak and saw his ANBU uniform. She then saw the necklace that she hasn't seen for 12 years. She has given it to her godson, baby Naruto, at his birth. He was supposedly buried with it. Why does this ANBU agent have it? No, he can't be. No, he is dead. She thought. I have better saved him first and when he wakes up and gets him to answer my questions. Still thinking of the necklace. She went to work to filter out the poison and to restart his heart. Coughing after a few minutes, Kitsune's heart and wounds was healed by Tsunade. She sat back on her knees. Kabuto was amazed that she managed to cure Kitsune that easily. The great Tsunade has managed to save that ANBU. That is what you get when the legendary slug Sannin can heal anything, said a coughing Kabuto. He was still on the floor with Shizune guarding them. Then Kitsune's mask broke to reveal blonde hair as bright as the sun, with whiskers on both cheeks, but with blue eyes, but was cold as ice, instantly recognizing only 2 people have that specific coloring of hair and eyes. She knows the person before her was her godson whom she thought had died a long time ago. Tsunade embraced her godson Naruto in her arms and cried with tears. Naruto, unfamiliar with the situation, questions what was going on. Unbeknownst to him, he started to shed tears as well. He has never felt these emotions at all. What is this? Whispered Naruto before he fainted into blackness. She replaced his hood of his cloak on his head as his identity must not be revealed as he was an active ANBU agent. Shizune, look after him, commanded Tsunade. She ran off with towards Orochimaru and Jiraiya. They were still fighting. Tsunade and Jiraiya versus Orochimaru. Arriving on the scene, she looked around and saw her 2 former teammates locked in battle. They were trying to hit each other and kept on missing. She aimed a punch at Orochimaru's head and he flipped away a few feet away and then the 3 Sannin was at a standstill. Finally, the legendary Sannin are back together again. This is the day that the 3 of them were together again. The last time was a few decades ago in Konoha. They were all Jonins that fought in the 3rd Great Shinobi War. So, we are all together again, exclaimed Tsunade. She looked at both of her teammates with disdain. She didn't want to be there. She wants to get back to Naruto. She knew that they could not leave the battle alive. Someone has to die that day. Jiraiya was getting his chakra control back, but he wasn't sure that he can control his jutsu. Orochimaru wasn't sure he could beat the both of them together. Then 3 blurs could be seen in the distance. It was definitely a high-level battle between the legendary Sannin. Jiraiya managed to avoid being impaled in the chest by a few inches. He tried to grab hold of Orochimaru and missed. Tsunade punched the snake Sannin in the face and he spat out some blood and then charged Tsunade again. She dodged then aimed a high kick onto his back. Orochimaru flipped away and started to hit Jiraiya with his kicks. The 3 Sannin battled like there was no tomorrow. They fought each other like when they were younger. The people on the sidelines were watching with amazement. The Budo was still on the floor watching, with Shizune on guard of Naruto's body. He was still unconscious from earlier. However, the battle was taking a toll on all 3 Sannin. They all have minor wounds and were bleeding from various wounds. All of them were panting as they were tiring. Orochimaru notices Naruto on ground and hurries to deal the final blow. Oh no, he's heading towards Naruto. Jiraiya was behind him, please let me make it in time. In that split second, Orochimaru impales his sword into what seemed like Naruto, but was really Tsunade's left shoulder as she used her body to defend Naruto. She flipped out of the way and tried to stand back up again. I have to release the seal. I have to recover these wounds or we are going to fall. she mentally thought. Tsunade got into position to release her seal to the Sauzo Saisei. She knows that it can heal her wounds, but it will reduce her lifespan. Shizune paled considerably after seeing what she's doing and she shouted. "Tsunade-sama, I will heal your wounds, please don't use your seal," explained a frantic Shizune. Tsunade ignored her and faced her teammates. She used the summoning jutsu and summoned Katsuo. The other two recognized her stance and they summoned their respective summons. All three slammed their right palms on the ground. "Oh Jiraiya, why have you summoned me here?" said a huge toad called Gamabunta. He was smoking a pipe. He looked like a Yakuza boss with a large dagger on his side. Jiraiya was on its head, while Orochimaru and Kabuto were on Manda's head. Tsunade stood on Katsuo's head, a big blue and white soft-spoken slug. "You summoned me?" "Tsunade-sama?" asked the slug boss. Tun-Tun, Gamakichi and Gamatatsu, at the same time. "Oh, it's Daddy. Daddy, look down here," replied a happy Gamatatsu. He was trying to attract his father's attention. No one but Manda looked at them. "Oh crap, Gamatatsu, you shouldn't have drawn their attention to us," replied Gamakichi. He had seen Manda looking at them. He swallows in fear and told his brother to run for it. "What? Why are we running away? Daddy is here. He will protect us," replied a confused Gamatatsu. The two small toads hopped away with Tun-Tun running towards Naruto and Shizune. She was watching the fighting while guarding the unconscious Naruto. The three Sannins. A few seconds of silence when Gamabunta made a comment after blowing a huge smoke cloud. "Oh ho. That is Tsunade and Katsuo. Orochimaru and Manda. Are you holding a reunion or something, Jiraiya?" commented Gamabunta. "Aka, you must be joking. This is the day that we take down Orochimaru. He has been a pain in the backside for so long. We are going to defeat him today," replied Jiraiya. Orochimaru glared at him when he said that comment. Manda looked around and made a scathing comment to his summoner. "You are a troublesome man. What do you want?" asked Manda. He had seen Katsuo and Gamabunta on the field. He snarled at his summoner. Meanwhile, back in Konoha, a dark pineappled head sneezed and then he returns to watching the clouds overheads. "Manda, I need your help in killing Jiraiya and Tsunade today," replied Orochimaru. The huge snake snorted with disdain at his summoner. "You bring me out in such troublesome situations, Orochimaru," Manda commented. Orochimaru was silent. "Fine, I want 100 offerings after this," suggested Manda. "Jiraiya, you are so troublesome as well," Gamabunta said. Tsunade on Katsuo's head glared at her former teammate and then she looked at Jiraiya. He has a lot to answer when this battle is over, she mentally thought. The three summoners remained quiet while their summons was having a conversation below them. Gamabunta, smoking his pipe exhaling in front of Manda, snarled at him calling him, "You dry out old toad, you want to fight." Gamabunta retorted back with a comment of, "I always wanted a snakeskin wallet." Getting ready to draw his dagger while Katsuo remained quiet like her summoner. The three summon waited when the wind suddenly dropped. And then Katsuo spat some acid at Manda. He dodged and coiled itself around Katsuo, squeezing her. Gamabunta tried to stab Manda but was held hostage by his mouth. He flipped out the way and then Manda tried to squeeze harder around Katsuo. She turned to many smaller versions of the slug boss and they escaped, then they rejoined each other and made up the bigger slug boss. They continued fighting until Jiraiya was in the right position to burn Manda with a strong fire jutsu using Gamabunta's oil that he spurted out his mouth. But like all snakes, they shed their outer skin and escaped underground. Looking around, they were trying to pinpoint his location when a giant snake head popped out from the ground. He coiled himself around Gamabunta, restraining his movement when a huge shadow covered them. It was Tsunade. She has picked up Gamabunta's dagger and slammed it through Manda's mouth, sealing his mouth shut. "Take that. That should stop him," exclaimed a tiring Tsunade. She jumped back onto Katsuo. Manda uncoiled the rest of his body, trying to free the dagger, but to no avail. He was pinned to the floor when a free-falling Tsunade smacked a chakra-infused fist into Orochimaru's cheek. He fell over on Manda's head. Orochimaru flicked his long tongue at her, trying to strangle her by suffocating her when she grabbed him and slammed him on the floor with enough force to dispel Manda. Before he left, Manda snarled out, "Orochimaru, you owe me. I wouldn't be able to eat for a few weeks with this hole in my mouth." And with a puff of smoke, he left. Orochimaru slithered like a snake up to his feet and jumped towards Kabuto, and together they left the field as they knew they couldn't beat them today. That left the two Sannin, and they free fall to the ground and dispel their summons, and they walked up to Shizune. Tun-Tun was there. The two small frogs were still there. They were clustered around Naruto. He hasn't awoken since he fainted. They gathered him up and returned to the nearby town to let him rest and heal. Tsunade checked him over and deemed him okay and to let him rest. She told Shizune to check on him from time to time. The two small toads stayed with him through the night. Meanwhile, Tsunade has pulled Jiraiya into her shared room with Shizune. She pushed him onto the bed. She started to pace up the room after a while. She was fidgeting a lot when she exploded at him. "I think you have something to tell me," she asked him, looking at him. "What do you mean?" asked Jiraiya confused. "Who is Kitsune exactly? Is he Naruto?" she asked. He started to squirm and he looked away from her. "I don't know what you mean," he replied, not answering her question. "I'm not stupid, Jiraiya, don't lie to me. Is Naruto dead or alive? Is Kitsune Naruto?" She questions him with a death glare. "How did you know who Kitsune was?" he asked her. "He was wearing a necklace that I gave Naruto as a baby. He had it around his neck. Then I saw his face, and his coloring is the same as Minato's. He also had the markings of being a Jinchuriki as well. So that means Kitsune is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto," explained Tsunade. "So, you have found out Kitsune is Naruto then," explained Jiraiya. "You knew and you didn't tell me until I have to find out this way," exploded Tsunade. She lifted her fist and then restrained herself. She still has questions that need to be answered. "Did you know he was alive all this time?" she asked him with controlled anger in her voice. "No, I didn't. I only found out about a week or so ago. Sensei lied to me and you. He hid Naruto from us and had him in working in ANBU all this time. I was brought in by Sensei to fix his seal after the Chunin exams. Then, we spent an evening together at his home," answered Jiraiya. He was shivering from the glare that he was getting, and then he looked at his former teammate in the eye and waited for further questions to be asked. "What do you mean his home? Does he lives at the Namikaze house?" she questioned him. "No, but Sensei is letting him live there with a guardian." He tried to squirm away from the topic. "The guardian? Who is this guardian? Do we know him or her? They have no rights to being Naruto's guardian. We should be there to look after him as his parents are now dead," exclaimed Tsunade. She was livid with the idea that someone else was looking after him while they was misinformed all these years. "About that. His guardian has more rights than we do. He practically came back to look after him," said Jiraiya. He knew she is going to explode with the suspense. He knew that he had to tell her about Minato. "Who is it?" she asked him. "Tsunade, what I am going to tell you is a SS rank secret that Sensei allowed me to tell you. So, don't say anything until I have finished, okay?" Jiraiya said with a warning in his eye. He was being serious all of a sudden. "Fine. Go on. What is it?" Tsunade huffed with exasperation. "That guardian is Minato. He was resurrected by Orochimaru using a forbidden jutsu during the invasion at the Chunin exams. He was there with your late ancestors fighting Sensei and Naruto. But then the Shinigami appeared and took away your ancestors and spared Minato. The truth was then revealed to Minato, I and Naruto. Only Sensei and the three elders knew about Naruto's identity. They hid it from the rest of the village for the last 12 years. "What?" she gaped. "I am not finished. I went to check on the information. It is Minato, he is alive. He wanted to see Naruto and he found out that he was ANBU. He was livid. Sensei and he had a heated exchange and now they are living together at the house," answered Jiraiya truthfully. She opened her mouth but no sound came out of it. She knew that she wanted to be near her godson as she has witnessed his attitude and she didn't like it. She is going to return to Konoha with him and help look after him. She managed to get Jiraiya's agreement in doing the same. The next day. Kitsune Naruto woke up in a strange room and found the two small toads nearby. They were asleep on the opposite bed. They were curled around each other. Then on the floor was Tun, the little pig that hangs with Shizune and Tsunade. "Where am I?" he asked himself. He looked around the room, the sun was shining into the room and he could tell it was near midday. He tried to get out of bed but he fell down with a wince. He was aching all over. Groaning with pain, Naruto tried to get up again but fell onto the mattress again. The noise woke up the two small toads from their slumber. They looked at the awakened Naruto. They hopped off the bed then towards his. "You finally awake then, Gaki," said Gamakichi with his brother behind him. "Time to eat again," said Gamatatsu. Gamakichi slaps him on the head with his right arm. "That is not important at the moment, Gamatatsu. Stop thinking of your stomach at this time," the small red frog said to his brother. Naruto watched the brothers' interaction and silent chuckled about their antics. But didn't understand the feeling. He was alien to this sort of conversation. Then a loud squeal was heard, it seems the Tun has woken up. She squealed at the others and then moved to the door. How she opens the door, nobody knows. She left the room to find Shizune. The three males watch her leave when Gamatatsu asked him. "Aniki, do you have any candy?" Naruto sweat drops at this and shook his head negatively. Amakichi looks at Naruto with some respect to see a kid like him to be so strong. Then, they can hear footsteps coming towards the room, then the door opened to admit Shizune, Tsunade, Jiraiya and Tun, the pig. She shot in the room and sat on the floor facing the beds. Tsunade came up to Naruto and ruffled his head. He moved his head away as he didn't understand the sign of affection. Jiraiya noticed the quick movement and remained silent. "Oh Gaki, you finally woken up then. How are you feeling then?" asked Tsunade to her godson. "I am fine," he answered politely. "No, you're not. You are wincing and having trouble sitting up," reprimanded Tsunade. "I am fine. I will be okay soon. Have you heard anything about my squad? They were on their way to rejoin me," asked Naruto. "Yes, we have. They arrived this morning. But I have some bad news for you. They were all injured and there was a casualty of war," answered Jiraiya. He finds out from him that one of his squad members, aimed to be precise, was killed in action and he wasn't there as he was unconscious at the time. Wanting to see his squad members, Naruto turned back to Kitsune and asked for information from Inu. It seems that Orochimaru has killed Aim when they coming to rejoin him so that they can carry on with the mission. They unfortunately ran into the path of the fleeing Orochimaru and an injured Kabuto. They staggered to the town and found them at the inn. It was decided that the mission is a failure and they would all return to Konoha when he is able to get up for travel. Chapter 11 Fox meets Konoha 12. After a few days of rest, Naruto Kitsune wearing a makeshift mask made of black material. He has covered his face and hair with a black bandana. He was wearing his ANBU uniform and cloak as well. He and his squad accompany Jiraiya, Tsunade and Shizune back to Konoha. Nearly a week of traveling, they finally reach the road to Konohagakure. They need to travel for another half hour and they are home. Konoha, Hokage Tower. There wasn't much activity in the room as the Sannin wasn't there. He was currently in the hospital under observation. He fell ill in the last few days and needed medical help. He was awake but couldn't move his body. He was often visited by his former teammates and Minato, under Henge. They were the only one that knew that he was in hospital. Hospital. Lying in the bed, the Sannin looked up at the ceiling and sighed. "Ah. This is not the life that I have envisioned for myself. I am not going to go down like this." He looked out of the window. He hasn't had a smoke the last few days. "Okage-sama, Team Kitsune has returned. They were accompanying Jiraiya-sama and Tsunade-sama," answered an eagle mask ANBU. "Bring them in here," replied the elder Hokage. Flashback, Hokage Tower, a few days ago. The Sannin was dealing with the bane of the cage's paperwork. He was checking, stamping and signing various documents when there was a knock on the door. He looked up from his work and shouted. "Come in." It was Minato, under Henge. He has come to find out where Naruto was. He has been asking for the last few days now. But has been told that he was on a mission and hasn't returned yet. "Sannin-sama, how are you today? Has Team Kitsune returned yet?" asked Minato. "No, he hasn't. He is still out in the field. He will be returning soon," explained the Sannin. He lit his pipe and puffed out a smoke cloud. They were having a friendly chat between themselves when the Sannin started to wince in pain. These attacks of pain were happening frequently in the last few days. He has hidden the frequency of it from his family and subordinates. "Sannin-sama, are you alright?" asked Minato in concern. "I am fine," exclaimed the Sannin to the blonde man. "No, you not. You need to go to the hospital to be checked on," replied Minato. "I am too busy to go at the moment," he absently replied. "You can still do your work at the hospital. Only the location is changed. Your health is the main concern at the moment," said a very concerned Minato. "Fine. I will go." And with his henge on, the Sannin and Minato walked out of the office, then out of the tower towards the hospital for a checkup. End of flashback. That is why he is currently in the hospital. He was diagnosed with his chakra network closing down. This was due to his old age and the injuries that he sustained when he was fighting Orochimaru at the Chunin exams. He thought that he was fine. The medics have explained to him that it was a delayed reaction to the injuries that he sustained and that they cannot heal this sort of problem. They needed Tsunade-sama to cure him. She might be able to cure him. But they weren't sure about it. The Sannin sighed and leant back on the bed. He was bored with the inactivity of not doing anything. He wants to be out of the bed when the doors open to admit Minato. He comes in to visit him as he has been doing the last few days. "Sannin-sama, how are you doing today?" asked a concerned Minato. "I am doing okay. I am not in so much pain at the moment," replied the elder man. They sat in silence for a few minutes when another knock on the door. It was the eagle mask ANBU with his guests. Minato transformed into his altered persona and remained quiet. The doors opened to admit a group of 6 people and a small pig. They included his former students. Jiraiya and Tsunade, her apprentice Shizune and the 3 members of Team Kitsune. Wait, 3? Shouldn't there be 4 members? He looked at each of the ANBU agents and saw Kitsune, Inu and Tsuki was there. Aim wasn't there. "Kitsune, please report," he said. He heard an intake of breath from the silent man on his right when he said Kitsune. A differently masked Kitsune stepped out to make his report. When he finished making his report to the Sandaime, he felt several suppressed killer intent in the room. He knew they came from all the elder ninjas in the room. He remained silent. Inu made his own report concerning their run-in with Orochimaru and explained how AIM fell in battle. They had no chance in eliminating him as Kitsune was injured in the nearby town. They were just unlucky to meet him before they could rejoin their captain. Then, they rejoined him and then accompanied the two Sannins and Shizune back to Konoha. Okay. You're dismissed. You can go back to ANBU headquarters and await your next mission. Kitsune, you wait outside the room. Commanded the Sandaime. Kitsune bowed in respect to the elder Hokage, the two Sannins, Shizune and his father. He knew he was there but was under the usual henge. They haven't announced his return yet, but there has been rumors flying about amongst the high-level ninjas. He and his team left the room. Jiraiya sealed the room as what they need to discuss was top secret. They were the only one excluding the elders knew about Naruto Kitsune. Sandaime-sama, what is the meaning of this? You sent Naruto on an S-rank assassination mission. Orochimaru to be precise. You must be mad. He is not strong enough to beat him yet. Said a very concerned and furious Minato. He is strong enough, but he is lacking in something that is preventing him from advancing further. I don't know what it is. Commented Jiraiya to his sensei. Meanwhile, Tsunade was looking at the unfamiliar man, then she made her connection when he spoke with parental concern for Naruto. She gasped. You're Minato, aren't you? You're alive. Asked Tsunade, entering into the conversation. The people in the room all gasped at her announcement. Then, the Sandaime sighed and answered her. Yes, it is Minato. He is back, but I don't know how long he has. Orochimaru's Edo Tensei no Jutsu has various mysteries behind it, somehow it allowed Minato to remain here. Minato answered his question Sandaime, I suspect that Jutsu will only allow a certain amount of time to the one revived. Time? How long Minato asked Tsunade. I suspect the remaining time I have left is not long because I think it depends on the amount of chakra this body has to maintain the Edo Tensei, as I have about 1/2 of my chakra left. Can't you recover? The lost chakra replied Shizune. Minato nodded in disappointment. What happens when you run out? Asked Jiraiya. I suspect I would return to afterlife and disappear replied Minato. Everyone shocked at this revelation wanting it not to happen, but it was inevitable Minato was already dead. What about Naruto-kun should he know about this asked Shizune. Not yet, when the time right, I tell him myself Minato for now we should keep this a secret from Naruto and everyone. The Sandaime agreed this was best, but the others were skeptical. Kitsune came into the room. Kitsune, please accompany Jiraiya and Tsunade to their lodgings, then you are dismissed. You can go home with Minato. Commanded the Sandaime. Yes. Hokage-sama. Replied Kitsune. About to leave the room. Wait sensei. Let me have a look at you first. Pleaded Tsunade. Few minutes after examining the Sandaime's health. Walking through the village, Kitsune and the transformed Minato accompanied Jiraiya, Tsunade and Shizune to their lodgings, as the Senju house was closed for many years. They were staying at an inn until a genin team has opened up the house and clean it for their usage. It was too dirty and dusty to live in. On the way, they encountered Team 10 with their Jounin sensei, Asuma Sarutobi. They were coming out the BBQ shop. Nara Shikamaru came out of the shop first, then followed by a blonde girl called Yamanaka Ino, then Akamichi Choji. Asuma was complaining about the situation of his wallet. They just came back from a mission and were hungry before they reported in. That was good. I am so stuffed. Exclaimed Choji. It was always good with you concerning your stomach. Retorted Ino. Troublesome, you too. Exclaimed Shikamaru. Then, they stopped walking when they saw the two Sannins group walking down the street with an ANBU agent in the group. Asuma-sensei, who are those people? Who is that ANBU? He looks like that he is our age. How come? Asked Ino. Ino, stop being so nosy. Those people are the Sannins. The tall male is Jiraiya-sama, the toad Sannin, the elder female is Tsunade-sama, the slug Sannin, and the younger woman must be her apprentice. Her name is Shizune. The ANBU is Kitsune, and I don't recognize the older man though. Explained Asuma to his team. Shikamaru looked at the small ANBU. He sighed as he didn't bother as he found it troublesome to care. Along him Choji munched on his potatoes chips as he opened it as they came out of the BBQ shop. Haven't you eaten enough Choji? A ninja must keep up his strength no matter what. Ino sighed. Walking ahead. Kitsune walked along with his father when they encountered Team 7 with their Jounin sensei Kakashi Haddock, followed by a pink-haired girl Sakura Haruno, a blue-black-haired boy Sasuke Uchiha and black-haired boy Sai coming back from a mission. Kakashi greeted Kitsune and nodded to Minato in respect. Minato nodded in reply. Sakura overhearing the greeting, she asked Kakashi a question. Kakashi-sensei, do you know that person? He was my senpai when I was in ANBU Corps. Sakura gasped what? He clearly smaller and is about our age. There is no way. He could make captain of ANBU that quickly. Kakashi sweat drops and replied. He was special kind of ninja. Flashback. Thinking back to when he and Kitsune first met back at ANBU headquarters, Kakashi could never forget the cold stare he felt coming from Kitsune from behind his mask. Then flashback. Kakashi Pav. Knowing the secrets behind Kitsune and the revival of the Yondaime, he knew he had to keep it a secret no matter what. He was glad that his former sensei was alive and his son also alive because he had promised his sensei to look after him but failed, and now knowing that he is alive, he had another chance to make up for his mistake. End of Pav. Oi, Kakashi sensei, what are you thinking about? Asked Sakura to her sensei. Nothing, replied Kakashi, he sheepishly answered her. Sakura sweat drops. Kitsune then bumps into Sasuke's shoulder. Kitsune offered his hand in apology. Sasuke being the loner, he brushes away Kitsune's hand and replied. You looking for a fight, said an arrogant Sasuke. I merely want to apologize for bumping into you, replied Kitsune. You don't look strong, wanna fight? Asked Sasuke. Sakura came up them trying to sort out the conflict. Don't fight. We are in the middle of the village at the moment. I am merely challenging him to a friendly spar between comrades. No thank you. I'm not looking for a fight at the moment, replied Naruto. Sasuke becomes annoyed with that comment and repeatedly challenges him to a fight. Kitsune declines until Kakashi, a friendly spar then at their training field. Minato at first wanted to decline the offer when he was curious in how well Naruto fights. Also knowing Naruto needed friends his age, Minato agreed with Kakashi's idea and they walked ahead to talk while Kitsune was left behind with Sakura, Sai and Sasuke. They were to follow them to the training fields where the two adults were waiting for them. Sakura, the curious girl that she was, approached Kitsune with a question. Kitsune-san, do you have a name beside Kitsune? I apologize, I can't answer your question, only the Hokage and certain people know. All ANBU agents' real identity is confidential, replied Kitsune. They all walked to the training field as they were speaking. Kakashi and Minato were sitting on the 3 training posts. They were talking between themselves. They looked up when the 4 youngsters came into view. They got up and went up to them. Sasuke, you will be sparring with Kitsune, to Jutsu only. No ninjutsu or genjutsu etc. is allowed. Agreed. I will observe. Kakashi instructed them. The 2 boys faced off with each other when suddenly a gentle breeze blew away a leaf and then fists went flying between the 2 boys. Sasuke immediately started the battle, throwing kunes and shurikens. Kitsune retaliated with the same weapons as a clang was heard from the weapons rebounding against each other. Few moments later. Sasuke was lying on floor with a kunai held towards his neck with Kitsune on top. Sasuke seemed shocked from being beaten for the first time. He looked into Kitsune's eyes. Unshakable determination or murderous intent was all he could see in the ice-cold eyes of the ANBU agent. At the end of the match, Kakashi announced. Sasuke, unsatisfied with the result, demanded the match continues. Kakashi could not allow it in regards as the winner was clearly Kitsune. Sasuke, unsatisfied, clenched his fists in frustration and walked away in silence. Sakura was awed with respect before running to catch up to Sasuke. Sai was not far behind. Kakashi was clearly impressed by Kitsune's strength but was a little worried about how the match ended. He was glad he stopped the match before anything else happens. A second longer would result in someone getting hurt. He bowed in respect towards the Sannins before leaving. Minato left to catch up with Kakashi to discuss something. Kitsune standing there when a fist bashed him on the head, holding his head in pain. Turning to see who hit him, Jiraiya asked Kitsune about the match. What was that about, kid? Ranted Jiraiya. I failed to understand, Jiraiya-sama. I merely ended the match before the match got out of hand. Jiraiya frowned at Kitsune but thought to himself as Kitsune held his kunai towards the young Uchiha's neck. Jiraiya could see unshakable bloodlust but underneath the mask were small tears dropping down on his mask. He brushed off the thought. Kitsune stood there clueless, not forgetting his assigned task. Kitsune escorted the Sannins toward their lodgings and Tsunade walked beside Jiraiya while Shizune walked with Kitsune to congratulate him about his match. Tsunade turned towards Jiraiya. Did you see that, Jiraiya? Jiraiya nodded. It's hard to believe that he known as a weapon for the village. Yeah, I think Minato would agree. Jiraiya thought about the feeling he felt from Naruto. Tsunade nodded in response. After escorting the Sannins to their lodgings, Tsunade and Shizune waved goodbye with Jiraiya clearly walked after as he spotted 2 beautiful girls walking past. Later that day. Kitsune was off duty as he made his way to ANBU headquarters. He saw Minato at the gate entrance waiting. Boy, Naruto, are you free? Are you hungry? Let's go somewhere. There, thought clueless Kitsune. Both Minato and Naruto stopped at Ichiraku to eat some ramen. Obviously Minato hid himself under transformation jutsu, Naruto wearing his casual clothes, they both sat at the stand, Naruto sat politely while fidgeting, he wanted his mask to hide behind, Minato saw his son sitting there as he forbid Naruto from wearing his mask, Minato ordered 1 beef ramen and 1 miso ramen. AM handed Minato his bowl, then handed Naruto his bowl of miso ramen. AM noticed how cute Naruto was, thinking he was a ninja, as she sees various ninjas all the time, she thought she would have noticed someone with bright blonde hair and blue eyes being around. I haven't seen you people around here often, asked AM. Well, we don't get out much, replied Minato. Is that right? Well, enjoy your ramen, said AM. AM turned her head to see the boy next to dark brown-haired man, she noticed the boy slowly eating his ramen, as he found it foreign to eat, she still blushed before turning around to bring another round of ramen. Naruto seemed clueless at the expression of AM, he blushed a little to how pretty the girl was, and he was deciphering the ramen he was eating as it seemed foreign to him, but he enjoyed it as he ate it. Minato noticed his son's expression and smiled, his son had gained something as emotion. After filling their stomachs with ramen, both Minato and Naruto walked together when Minato heard a laugh he recognized, he knew it was Jiraiya and his usual behavior with beautiful women, giddy in all aspects, Minato sweat drops knowing his former master antics, he walked into the shop towards Jiraiya while Naruto waited outside. Jiraiya instantly recognized the person in front of him, he smiled and turned to the 2 beautiful women he sat with. I'm sorry ladies, I have urgent business to attend to, but do not worry, I'll be back sooner than you think. Haha, Jiraiya-chan, you are so sweet, goodbye then. You hurry back, okay Jiraiya-chan. You got it, ladies. Outside the shop. You never change, sensei. Jiraiya rubbed his head in embarrassment, knowing his former student knew everything about him, he saw Naruto waiting, and he greeted Naruto. Boy, Naruto, how you doing? Please, Jiraiya-sama, refrain from calling me that. Jiraiya frowned, punches Naruto on the head, Naruto rubbed his head in pain. You stop with the formalities, okay? Your name is Naruto, isn't it? Naruto sweat drops at the serious Sannin, then walked on ahead. Minato walked behind with Jiraiya alongside him. Naruto walked further up the streets, suddenly bumping into a girl, he offered his hand in apology, he instantly recognized the girl to be Hinata Hyuga, and he didn't know how to react without his mask, he was exposed, he stood there clueless. Hinata got up, brushed herself off, then turned to the person who helped her up, she immediately blushed, she saw a boy with blonde hair bright as the sun and eyes blue as the azure skies, she didn't recognize him from anywhere, Naruto stood towards her. I apologized for bumping into you, miss, said a nervous Naruto. It okay, it my fault, I wasn't paying attention myself, I haven't seen you around here often, I'm Hinata Hyuga, what your name? Naruto was thinking he already knew her name, but realized she doesn't know him, he couldn't risk his identity as the legendary Kitsune to someone, he instantly thought to use his other name and spur of the moment. Call me Naruto. Naruto-kun, what a nice name. Naruto blushed at the comment he just heard, thinking how to deal with this new feeling he was experiencing. Then a voice was heard. Oh I, Hinata shouted a young Inuzuka voice. Naruto recognized the voice as Inuzuka Kiba. As Kiba came into view, he ran towards Hinata and says. Hinata, Kurenai-sensei is waiting for us. I am sorry Kiba-san. Said Hinata, still blushing like a strawberry. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, I need to go, I see you around won't I, before running off. Naruto hoped so too, but unfortunately that was not possible, as he was going back on duty the next morning. Elsewhere. Hinata was walking aside Kiba to meet Shino and Kurenai-sensei at their meeting place. Kiba, noticing her red face, asked her. What is wrong? Nothing is wrong. Stuttered Hinata. She stutters around trying to regain her composure, thinking about the boy she just met and her mysterious meeting with the legendary Kitsune. She was wondering why she was having these feelings. Naruto, clueless as he ever been, walked back towards Jiraiya and Minato, Jiraiya impressed gave Naruto a thumbs up afterwards, giving him a slap on the back congratulating him, and Minato clapped his son in amazement, they both saw the whole situation between Naruto and Hinata, they knew what was happening, but they decided to keep quiet, wanting how the situation will turn out. Naruto immediately brushed off the situation as he failed to understand it, but felt he wanted to meet Hinata again. Later in the day, Naruto parted ways with Jiraiya and Minato as he had work in the morning. He slumped on his bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the many things that happened today, he could not hide behind the thing he cherished most. His mask, the ramen shop, the uncanny relationship between Jiraiya-sama and the yondaime and especially his encounter with Hinata, the more he thought about Lady Hinata, the more he wanted to see her again. He fell asleep soon after. Next day, early morning. Kitsune woke up, feeling more back to himself, he changed into his ANBU uniform and teleported toward Hokage Tower for his orders. The Sannin was expecting Kitsune to appear. Few seconds later Kitsune appeared in front of Sannin awaiting his orders. "Ah Kitsune, I've been expecting you. I here to receive my orders, Hokage-sama." "There will be no more orders." Hoping to hear him wrong Kitsune asked Sannin, "Please explain Hokage-sama." "As of now Kitsune, you are no longer of ANBU and you are now a Jonin." "But Hokage-sama. There will be no objections regarding this matter." "Not at all Hokage-sama." Naruto disappeared in a poof of smoke. The Sannin smiled and puffed his pipe. The door then opened to reveal Minato and Jiraiya smiling and wanting to hear the news. The Hokage nodded. "It is done." "Great Hokage-sama. Good to hear, good going old man." All three men stared out of the window onto the village thinking the same thing. Elsewhere. Naruto was dealing with the decision of the Hokage. As of now he was no longer ANBU and captain, but he could not go against the Hokage decision no matter what. He told his team of the details, then packed away his ANBU uniform and put on a standard uniform for Jounins. He seems very exposed wearing something very foreign. He spotted his mask on the table. He picked it up and stared at it for a moment before going to Hokage Tower. He walked through the door seeing Minato beside the Hokage. He greeted the Hokage and the man then waited to receive his orders. "Kitsune, now named Naruto, the reason behind your resignation of ANBU." "I have no doubts about your decision Hokage-sama." Naruto failed to realize that Minato was behind the decision of having Naruto stripped off ANBU. "Naruto, for reasons which we cannot discuss have led you to this decision. If it is the Hokage choice, I cannot object. Naruto, as of now you will be called when the need arises." "Yes, Hokage-sama." "Okay, you are dismissed." Naruto opened the door and walked through the door. Down the hall Kakashi was seen walking up. Naruto was walking past. Kakashi spotted the young person walking past. He turned his head. The young person did the same. Kakashi did not recognize the person, but saw only the cold blue eyes. He felt this strange sensation somewhere before, but thinking where he felt it from, Naruto hurried on. Kakashi was about to enter the Hokage room when Minato came through the door. "Excuse me, Kakashi." Minato bumped into his former student. "Ah, sensei." Kakashi greeted his master. Minato called him in the Hokage room to discuss some matters. Naruto was walking down the street, thinking, what was Lord Hokage thinking taking him off ANBU? There are likely to be consequences for this decision. The safety of the village has always been his duty and goal. Eliminating all threats was his job. He was more confused than ever. He carried on walking until he walked past Ichiraku. AM instantly recognized him and called him over. "Hey, you that boy from yesterday, come over here and have some ramen." Naruto thought what harm could come from eating some ramen. He walked in and ordered some miso ramen. As he ate some ramen, AM could notice that something was bothering the young boy. AM offered him some advice. "You know, if something bothering you should talk to someone about it." "That is not possible, as I have no friends." "How sad. What about the man who was with you yesterday?" "Our relationship isn't that close." "That's so, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. What your name?" Call me Naruto." "Well then you can me am Nichan okay." Naruto-kun am smiled at Naruto. Okay." Naruto felt a similar sensation, but it was a different feeling when he first met Hinata Hyuga. He couldn't express his emotions properly. He paid for his ramen and walked off in a hurry. He walked and walked until he reached a training ground fitted for Taijutsu training. He walked towards a training dummy and started punching, kicking the dummy in frustration. He was thinking about the many things he could not understand. He kept on punching the dummy until they were mangled. Hours later he fell down leaning on a tree exhausted to take a breather. He stared at the sky thinking then fell asleep. Next team guy came in. A black-haired girl 10-10, a black bob-cut-haired boy Rock Lee and black-haired boy Niji with their Jounin sensei Mito guy coming back from a mission. Lee, who couldn't resist an extra period of training after a mission, he hurried towards the training ground. He was looking forward towards the training, then he stopped to see that the training ground had already been thrashed. Guy sensei came in a hurry, with 10-10 and Niji close behind. They all could see all the dummies was mangled. "Who have done this?" thought Guy. "What happened here, Guy sensei?" "Don't know, Lee." "Someone must done this," replied Niji. "Look there, there's someone over there," shouted 10-10. 10-10 pointed at the figure in the distance leaning on the tree, a boy with blonde hair. They didn't recognize him at all. They walked toward the figure noticing that he was asleep. They walked closer to see the person was wearing a standard Jounin uniform, but the main thing was the person looked younger than themselves. They all were thinking why a youngster would been wearing a Jounin uniform. Feeling their presence, Naruto woke up and jumped onto a nearby tree branch. He looked to see who was there. He recognized one as Mito Guy, the other as Niji Hyuga, a member of the Hyuga branch family, third as Rock Lee, Guy self-proclaimed #1 student, and lastly 10-10, the person who relies on ninja weapons. Oi you, I haven't seen you around here, what your name?" asked Guy. Naruto remained silent. "Boy, why don't you answer?" Guy sensei asked Lee. Naruto still remained silent, then spoke. "I apologized, the name is." Naruto heard a summon call, then disappeared in a poof of smoke. "Wait, we did not get your name." It was too late, the figure had already left. "Ah, we did not find out who he is," sighed Tenten. "It seemed that way," replied Niji. "Yosh, and another rival has appeared." "What you talking about, Lee? If that person responsible for all this damage, he must be strong." Tenten thought about it for a second, the damaged training ground and the mysterious stranger instantly come to the same conclusion as Lee. I walked towards one training dummy and notices how thrashed it was. It seems it was damaged to a rage. He then brushed off the thought and walked on back to the village. Tenten, Niji, and Lee follows after him. Lee seemed disappointed as he could not get any extra training. Tenten pointed out to Lee with the training ground thrashed, they couldn't train anyway. Niji remained quiet. Chapter 12. Akatsuki looms over the horizon. Outside the village border, two shadowy figures gazed upon the peaceful village. After the invasion of Konoha, Itachi and Kitsune infiltrated the Konoha to find any trace of the container of the nine-tailed demon fox. Before searching, the two quickly stopped for tea after a suggestion from Kitsune. While there, however, their uncommon clothes drew the attention of Kakashi Haddock, who had Asuma Sarutobi and Kurenai Iki follow them. Itachi and Kitsune nearly managed to escape the village before Asuma and Kurenai managed to catch up with them in time. When the two revealed their identities, Itachi and Kitsune were quick to battle Asuma and Kurenai after they refused to leave. Despite their high ranks of Jonin, Asuma and Kurenai stood little chance against the two Akatsuki members. However, the arrival of Kakashi managed to keep Asuma and Kurenai from receiving any major injuries. After a short skirmish with Kakashi, Itachi activated his Manjukum Sharingan and used Tsukiyomi to attack Kakashi's mind and spirit, which seems like eternity, but in reality was a few seconds. "What are you looking for?" Kakashi staggered from the pain, trying to stay conscious. "We are looking for the fourth Hokage legacy," muttered Itachi. Kakashi was shocked as he heard Itachi muttering Naruto. Flashback. Kakashi and Jiraiya discussed matters regarding an organization called Akatsuki, which Orochimaru joined since his defect from the village and now had left just recently. Now that Naruto was alive, Akatsuki will target Naruto for certain. Jiraiya and Kakashi discuss what preparations needed to be done. Itachi ordered Kitsune to kill Asuma, Kurenai and Kakashi. ANBU was already informed of the two Akatsuki members' presence. Itachi and Kitsune retreated, saying that they didn't want to start a war, well, not yet anyway. Kakashi wondered what they were after as he passed out from the stress of Tsukiyomi. Asuma, Kurenai and Kakashi was taken to the Konoha hospital to be treated for their injuries. 2 days later Asuma and Kurenai was already discharged, while Kakashi stayed longer for the damage, which afterwards left the latter confined to bed for several days. Inside his room, Jiraiya was present as he heard Kakashi was at the hospital after Kakashi revealed what he encountered. "This is worse than I thought," Jiraiya muttered. "They started to make their move, they be sure to come after Naruto." Kakashi nodded. "I agree, from what I seen of him recently Naruto's skills are strong, but that won't be enough against Akatsuki, will it?" "I agree with you there, I better consult with Minato about this afterwards, but I need to find Naruto first." Jiraiya then left to find Naruto immediately. Naruto completed his current mission, then headed to the closest tea house before returning to the village, but he felt mixed emotions. Part of him felt relief for once, and the other was uneasiness, like someone was watching him from the distance. He could feel an ominous aura as he walked past a dark alley. Jiraiya hurried to the next town, knowing Naruto would need to pass through that town to get back to the village. Meanwhile Naruto was on guard when two shadowy figures appeared, revealing Itachi and Kitsune. "We need you to come with us, Kitsune of Konoha, or rather Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." Naruto readied his kunai to fight, wondering who these dark figures were and how did they know his name, but there was so many people around them. Naruto cast cage bushins to confuse his pursuers. Now outside the town Naruto began to run, failing to notice that Itachi was already behind him. Naruto retaliated with his wind kunai, only to have Kitsune clash with his Samehada sword. Naruto and Kitsune fought. Itachi was standing silently while Naruto and Kitsune fought. Itachi cast his Jinjutsu, but Naruto was too aware of the Jinjutsu being cast. Naruto cast Gufu Usuka no Jutsu, Water Typhoon Vortex technique, at the last second, prompting Itachi and Kitsune to back away. "You're strong despite being so young, your reputation precedes you, Konoha," Kitsune remarked Itachi. "I take you know who I am, just who are you two, and why are you after me?" asked Naruto. "We cannot answer that, all we require that you come with us," replied Itachi. "What happens if I refuse?" answered Naruto. "I see, we are required to use force if you refuse." Naruto readied his wind kunai as Kitsune clashed with his Samehada sword. At the same time Itachi cast Tsukiyomi on Naruto, knowing Jinjutsu at this level will work on Naruto as he was too familiar with ANBU. Naruto fell to the ground dazed. Kitsune was about to take Naruto when Jiraiya arrived just in time to see Naruto with the two Akatsuki members. Jiraiya in front defending Naruto, noticing he was unconscious. Naruto, wake up. Moments later Naruto was waking up from his nightmare, covered in sweat and was bit shaky. Jiraiya picked Naruto up by the shoulder. Naruto, are you alright? Yeah, that Tsukiyomi caught me off guard for a second. Jiraiya immediately asked Itachi and Kitsune for their real goal for kidnapping Naruto. They confirmed this, and Itachi understood that Jiraiya was the one who had told Kakashi about Akatsuki. Although Jiraiya wished to fight them himself, but the two Akatsuki partners decided to evade capture instead. Jiraiya was pondering on many things about Akatsuki, but first he accompanied Naruto back to Konoha as soon as possible. Few hours later elsewhere. The Akatsuki lair. Various shadowy figures stood in a circle to discuss matters of their plans. Itachi, did you find any trace to the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, asked by one mysterious figure. Yes, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze is rather known as Kitsune of Konoha, replied Itachi. Oh, rather famous that one is, I would love another chance to fight him, smirked Kitsune. Enough of that, Kitsune, why did you fail to bring him in? Against the nine-tailed Jinchuriki and Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin proved unfavorable to us at that point, replied Itachi. It isn't like you to fail, Itachi, was the little Kitsune too much for you to handle, remarked another mysterious figure mockingly. Itachi stood silent with no reply. You should leave him to me. I show him art is an explosion. No. Kitsune's head would fetch a huge reward. He's mine. Enough all of you. No matter, there is no rush, we can wait 3 years to grab that particular Jinchuriki, and anyway, all is going according to the plan. Itachi, Kitsune, continue with the next steps of your mission. Understood, replied Kitsune, disappeared. Itachi stood silent before disappearing after Kitsune, and the rest of Akatsuki disappeared seconds after. Chapter 13, Kitsune's unusual encounters. Few days after Akatsuki's encounter. Naruto was adjusting to the life of being a Jonin. He completed various A ranks missions over in few weeks, but he misses his time as ANBU captain, but knowing it was the Hokage's direct order, he brushed off his doubt about the Hokage's decision. Filled with mixed feelings he couldn't understand, Naruto completed his current mission. Off duty he stopped at Ichiraku. He started to become very fond of ramen, as he starting eating. Jiraiya patted his shoulder to greet his only godson. Hey Naruto, how you been doing? Not bad, Jiraiya-sama, considering everything that happened, replied Naruto, remembering the other day with Akatsuki. Jiraiya noticed Naruto had started to open up as a person. He secretly smiled at his godson, considering what has happened to him recently. Naruto, I have a proposition for you, stated Jiraiya. What type of proposition? Naruto replied. How about you train with me? Akatsuki will come after you again sooner or later, and you need to get stronger to fight back. I don't think so, do I require this training? I spoke to your father about this and he agreed. Alright, I take the training if that's what I need to do. Okay, meet me later at the village gate. I need to make some preparations first. Naruto wandered the streets, failing to notice the many young girls around staring at him. He could hear them whispering, that boy really cute. Haven't seen him around here before. Wow, is that boy already a Jonin at such a very young age? Naruto was unfamiliar with the various social conversations going on around him. He continued walking till he passed near a tea house, where he saw Kakashi and Guy were up to their usual antics of who were the better ninja. The score is 50-49. Kakashi sighed. Guy, not to worry, my springtime of youth will beat you. Having a game of Janken, Kakashi won using scissors, beating Guy's paper. Another match. Kakashi demanded. Guy, Kakashi sweat dropped at Guy comment. When he noticed Naruto walking further on, Guy noticed him a second later. Hey, it's you, didn't introduce yourself last time we met. I apologize, the name Naruto, Guy-san. Naruto then turned towards Kakashi. Kakashi-san, can we talk in private? Of course Naruto, see you later Guy. I stood there astonished as Naruto and Kakashi walked away. He was thinking the same young boy he met a while ago. Wait, that kid was wearing a Jonin jacket, how is that possible? Guy thought for a second when Kitsune suddenly came to his mind. He compared both their sizes until something dawned on him, Naruto is Kitsune. Just then Lee came running to get his master for their next mission. Guy stood silent while Lee noticed his reaction. What the matter, Guy-sensei? Nothing, let go. Lee, springtime of youth waits for no one. Hi, Guy-sensei. Both of them hurried to meet up with Tenten and Niji. Meanwhile Naruto and Kakashi were talking privately at the tea house. What did you want to talk about, Naruto? Uchiha Itachi, I seem to recall you had an encounter with him. Kakashi-san, can you shed any information on him? Kakashi nodded, knowing how Naruto would behave if he answered. He wondered where this conversation were going. Why do you ask, Naruto? I believe an organization called Akatsuki that Itachi has joined is after me and I need some information. Naruto, it is up to Hokage to decide to give out any information regarding this, asked Kakashi when he came to one conclusion. Were you attacked? Naruto nodded. I was lucky that Jiraiya-sama came when he did. Uchiha Itachi's jutsu are to be feared. Kakashi nodded in agreement. Itachi's Tsukiyomi was a powerful jutsu indeed, considering he went through the same thing. What are you going to do, Naruto? I do not know, Jiraiya-sama has opted me to train with him to better prepare myself for arrival of Akatsuki. Kakashi patted Naruto on the shoulder. Naruto, you're strong as me. Kakashi smiled underneath his mask, seeing his sensei in Naruto, the resemblances was striking between them. I thank you, Kakashi-san, and then left. Kakashi stayed behind a bit longer, thinking many things. Naruto, you're already strong, you may surpass even me. Kakashi left the tea house soon after. Later in the day. Naruto was walking further up towards the village gates after he packed to meet Jiraiya, thinking about the many things. Naruto was walking past the Yamanaka flower shop where Ino was helping out when she was off duty. She was sorting out the new flowers that came into season. She grabbed a bunch to display outside, however she grabbed a bit too many. She tripped on an elusive flower pot, at the same time bumped into Naruto as he was walking just in front of her. Flowers went flying everywhere. Ino picked herself up when she noticed a figure underneath her. She noticed the person had blonde hair and was obviously the same height as her. The only difference was the person was wearing a Jonin uniform. Ino bowed with respect. I'm so sorry. It's okay, I wasn't paying attention myself, replied Naruto as he got up, rubbing his head. I haven't seen you around here before, asked Ino. Well, I kind of get that a lot, as Naruto picked up all the flowers on the floor and then handed them to Ino. Naruto then turned to leave. Wait a minute, don't you have a name? The name Naruto. Well, I need to leave right now. It was nice to meet you, Miss Ino, as Naruto hurried further on to the village gate. Ino was wondering who Naruto was anyway, when something dawned on her. Wait, how does he know my name? Then her mom's voice in the back shouted, Ino, can you give me a hand back here? Humming. Mom, shouted Ino. Naruto hurried to village gates waiting for Jiraiya to arrive. After waiting 10 minutes for him, both he and Jiraiya headed out. Chapter 14. Kitsune's training. Jiraiya took Naruto for some training on the advice of the yondaime, after informing him of the events of Akatsuki. Seeing this as the only option to better prepare Naruto for their arrival, Jiraiya took Naruto to the lodging town outside the village. Naruto and Jiraiya stopped outside the town to train. Jiraiya decided to teach Naruto the Rasengan. Naruto seemed uninterested at first, but knowing it was a technique his father developed, Naruto decided to learn it. To begin learning the technique, Jiraiya told Naruto must pop a water-filled balloon held in the palm of his hand by spinning the water with just his chakra. Soon after his training begins, Naruto finds himself making good progress. Naruto decides he'll master the jutsu within 2 weeks. Jiraiya knew straight away the likelihood that Naruto will live up to this promise, explaining that the technique's creator, the yondaime, took 3 years to develop the Rasengan in its current form. Seeing how strong his godson already was, he will probably master this technique just as easily. He then goes on to explain that popping the balloon is only one of 3 steps and leaves Naruto to resume his training. After failed attempts, Naruto soon discovers that popping the balloon is easier if he uses both of his hands and progresses to the second step. The second stage requires the bursting of a rubber ball. Naruto trains for days and manages to burst a ball, but with great struggle and pain. As the second step involves Naruto popping a rubber ball, something that will require much more power. Next, Naruto started combining the spinning and the power developed in the previous steps, something that Jiraiya cannot help him with, as he attempts to do both. Over 12 days Naruto had achieved each stage of the Rasengan, but there something was wrong as he attempted to perform the completed jutsu. It was unstable, it keeps blowing up, sending Naruto flying a few times, but Naruto was determined to achieve the Rasengan. Naruto, after his latest attempt, sat up and he analyzed the situation and suddenly saw the answer to the problem. He called up and Kage Bushin. With this creates a unique method using the shadow clone to help divide the roles of rotating the chakra and is able to pull together all the strength he has left to make one final attempt with his right hand, creating a shadow clone and pulling off a complete Rasengan. Jiraiya watched from behind a tree as he saw Naruto perform the Rasengan flawlessly. Naruto passed out after mastering the new jutsu. Jiraiya catches him as he fell and smiled at how quickly Naruto had progressed in the training, reminding him of his time training with Minato. He carried Naruto back to the town to rest at the local inn. Meanwhile, back at Konoha Hospital. The Sannin was getting worse as his illness was progressing. Tsunade did all she could using all her knowledge of medical ninjutsu. Minato and Shizune was present in his hospital room. Sarutobi-sensei, I done all I can, but it seems your chakra network may shut down for good. I think it would be good for you to stand down as Hokage. The Sannin sighed. This will cause a lot of problems for the village, but if the need arrives, I will take it into consideration. Why doesn't Minato-sama take over like before, asked Shizune. Minato declined the offer. I can't take up the title, Shizune, because when I was resurrected by Orochimaru, I don't have that much time, plus everyone knows I'm dead. It would be best if it stayed that way. But the village needs an Hokage as soon as possible, replied Shizune. If I need to step down as Hokage, I want you to take over Tsunade next to Jiraiya. You are the next likely candidate. I understand Sarutobi-sensei, replied Tsunade. Back to Naruto. Naruto woke up in the local inn room. Where am I? He asked himself. He looked around the room, the sun was shining into the room and he could tell it was near midday. He tried to get out of bed but he fell down with a wince. He was aching all over. Jiraiya greeted his godson. You're awake now, Naruto, as he sat in the corner. What happened? Asked Naruto. You passed out from your training. Jiraiya secretly smiled at his godson. Naruto had mastered the Rasengan like he promised. We should head back to the village pretty soon, Naruto, but for now I want you to rest, okay, because I want to talk to you later. Naruto nodded as he lay back down and stared out the window looking at the sky with birds and clouds and fell asleep. Bathhouse. Naruto and Jiraiya was alone in the bathhouse. Naruto seemed confused having a conversation in a hot spring, but Jiraiya was being serious for once. Naruto, you do know why I am training you? Naruto nodded. Akatsuki is after me, but why I do not know. Have you experienced a surge in chakra at any given time? Naruto. Naruto thought back to the time he fought Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. He didn't remember much of that time. There were one time but I don't remember much of it. Why do you ask? Naruto, do you know anything about the Kyuubi? Naruto nodded. It was stopped by the fourth Hokage. This might come as a shock to you, Naruto, but it was sealed inside of you and that's what Akatsuki is after. Naruto nodded as he was not experienced enough to express himself fully, but it explained everything. The various cold glares he got from members of ANBU when he was young. After 6 years of intense training in ANBU, he finally made captain and was respected and feared as the Kitsune of Konoha. Jiraiya sighed as Naruto had to deal with this on his own until he heard girls' voices on the other side of the bath. Jiraiya couldn't resist peeking over the wall. Naruto's sweat dropped. What are you doing, Jiraiya-sama, as Naruto looked at him awkwardly. I'm collecting precious research material. For my novel, replied Jiraiya as he began drilling a hole through the barrier between the two baths. You know peeking isn't proper, aren't writers supposed to imagine their material in their minds? Naruto debated. I'm going for realism for my material, Jiraiya shouted. He saw 3 young girls having a bath through the hole. Jiraiya started to giggle as the girls was having fun bathing. The girls overheard Jiraiya then ran away. Jiraiya yelled in disappointment, the beautiful ladies are gone. Naruto's sweat dropped again, leaving the hot spring, leaving Jiraiya sulking in his displeasure of the girls that ran away when Naruto decided to use his Warrick no Jutsu to teach Jiraiya a lesson. Jiraiya stared through the hole when he heard a female voice behind him. Jiraiya-sama. Jiraiya turned to find a beautiful blonde-haired girl standing behind him. Who are you? Jiraiya-sama, I've been waiting for you. The figure answered. Really, you've been waiting for me? Jiraiya smiled as he wanted to hug the mysterious figure. He edges closer and closer. This is the best day of my life, yelled Jiraiya, causing an exaggerated nosebleed. A slap came hammering towards Jiraiya's face, knocking him face down. No. The blonde figure turned back into Naruto. Well played, Jiraiya replied as he lay face down in the hot spring. Few moments later, he got up asking Naruto what happened, where the cute girl went to. What cute girl? They're only me and you. I must have been dreaming. The Warrick no Jutsu, thought Naruto, hiding his embarrassment in the technique turning into a beautiful woman, typically with seductive posture. Naruto had used this technique to distract many AD-ranked targets in the bingo book. Naruto sighed as the Warrick no Jutsu, sexy technique, was his shame. Not even his ANBU teammates knew about this technique. It was an effective technique he created and used for assassination of many wanted criminals. What if Naruto is an emotionless ANBU family alive? End here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.